Hello, Dan.
Hello, Ollie.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello.
Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Dan.
We've never done that before.
Well, yeah, it's a bit different because today's episode is a bit different. It's a bit of a special one, so I thought I'd give it a little bit of a special intro. Permit me for a moment, boys, to speak about the duality of man. The long-posited notion that deep down, man is not one, but truly two. For centuries, some of mankind's greatest minds, from authors and artists to philosophers and psychologists, have argued as to the accuracy of this description of the human condition. In this humble podcaster's opinion, not only is this assessment of mankind as an inherently contrasting and conflicted creature correct, but the evidence of it has never been more glaringly apparent in our day-to-day lives. This is because never throughout recorded history has the split personality manifested itself more clearly than in the modern film bro. Specifically, the modern film bro when asked the earth-shattering, mind-melting question, what is your favourite movie? You see, inside every film bro is two personalities. There's the respectable, decent, law-abiding personality that comes forth when they want to make themselves appear a well-rounded, well-read cinephile. When asked what their favourite film is, this charming personality manifests itself with a selection of films that would be appropriate for a job interview, on a first date, or over dinner with the in-laws. The type of favourite film choice that says, why yes, I have good cultural capital, but I also touch grass and have a job. The other personality is a much more primal, animalistic, shameless creature, an Arrow video collecting midnight movie maniac, and when the curtains are drawn, the cheap lager is chilled and the frozen co-op pizzas are cooking, this darker personality has a much more brutal and honest answer to that same question. We here at the Missing Scene podcast, in our own ways, have all been guilty of falling victim to this Jekyll and Hyde complex. Charles, for example, when he wants to appear a respectable, home-owning 30-something-year-old, a young 30-something-year-old, has been known to answer that question by saying that he's fond of the works of David Lynch, Rob Reiner and Jonathan Demme, in particular Lost Highway, Stand By Me and The Silence of the Lambs. But behind closed doors, when the mask of normalcy is off, he enjoys nothing more than B-movie schlock, like Critters, and The Adventures of Jake and Elwood Blues. I myself, when I've been asked my favourite film by colleagues over the water cooler, or a girlfriend's parents over dinner, have confidently said that I like the films of William Friedkin and Francis Ford Coppola. I mean, you can't get a better top four than The Exorcist, Sorcerer, The Godfather, and The Conversation. But in the privacy of my own home, when I'm not being a pretentious twat, I like nothing more than to throw on one of Michael Bay or even Zack Snyder's films. Dare I say my real favourite film is less the final cut of Apocalypse Now and more the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. And lastly, there's Daniel. When Dan is trying to present the idea that he's an upstanding member of his community, a hard-working husband and a dutiful father, he will tell you that his favourite filmmakers are Park Chan-wook, Bong Joon-ho, Shane Meadows and Martin McDonagh. Many a time I've heard him say that his favourite films are Old Boy and Parasite, but deep down he knows that that is a lie, a falsehood. Deep down, in the pit of his soul, Dan knows that his favourite film is none other than the focus of today's episode. Paul W.S. Anderson's cheesy, schlocky gorefest 1997's Event Horizon. This is great, isn't it? This song.
Oh. Can we just give him a round of applause for that?
That was...
Thank you. I rehearsed that in the car on the way here. Grammatically incorrect and incoherent.
It doesn't. It sounded great.
I appreciate that.
And you wrote that all yourself. That is...
As I said,
I can't believe how on point you got us all as well.
I mean, if you got any of my like English teacher friends to read it, they'd probably say that doesn't make sense. That's not a real word. But you know what?
So good.
I think, Dan, deep down, if you're being honest, your favourite film is Event Horizon.
My letterbox top 4 is not my letterbox top 4. I put it in now though, but I would happily go out now with a chest say, even like Demolition Man.
Yeah, whoa, 100%.
What
100%.
I think obviously we said we'd do at 1.8 an episode on guilty pleasures and what is our true top films would be a
Con Air.
Yeah.
Oh, Con Air. Speed.
Deep Blue Sea. Just
The list is endless.
90s schlock. But yeah, we're talking about a very specific and special piece of 90s schlock today.
Yes.
This is a film that the three of us love. It's one of those films that for people of a certain generation, it's kind of like ubiquitous. There are so many people I know that love Event Horizon, or at the very least, they have some indelible memories of watching it as a kid or as a teenager. And I think that's where we should start. Dan, Dan has championed this for the longest time.
Hold on. I've championed it, but I do feel like we've all. This got wedged in. This was never in the plan, this film.
No,
it was never. But we ended up having a conversation. We did an episode on physical media, and I whacked out a version of the film, and I think Ollie nearly had a heart attack when he saw it. and then after that, it was just like weeks after that, we were all just talking about it constantly. We thought, well, why don't we take all this enthusiasm for a film that we all really like and really love, and let's just do it. And there are some different things that we're doing in this episode today that we haven't done for the previous episodes. It may seem like we have put in a lot of effort in for this film, and it's not that we don't like the other films.
No,
it's just we love this film.
Unashamedly.
Unashamedly. So I'll start with my memories. I was with my papa yesterday, and I actually questioned him about this film. So I originally it was in my household as a child on VHS. And again, as with all VHSs, drawn to the cover and the back, and on the back of this VHS, when it used to say the 18, it'd have the 4 sections. In like the colour, it'd be like sex, nudity, violence, and obviously everything was strong. And I was. Are
you talking about it used to have a breakdown?
Yes, it did.
I loved it when DVDs.
It was like
and videos
sex and nudity
that.
was in purple, violence was in red, language was in green, and something else was in yellow. That kind of thing.
Profanity or drug use, something like that.
Yes.
There were
So obviously it was something that really took. I was like, I need to see this, and I bugged my dad for a long time, and he was like, no, and then eventually he gave in, and he was like, okay, we'll watch it. So it was me, my dad, my mum, my eldest sister, and my youngest sister, I believe was probably in bed at the time. She wouldn't have been allowed to watch it, and I just remember sitting on my dad's lap, curled up, and obviously being terrified. Sat on his lap for the whole hour and a half. And then when it came to go to bed, I was literally stuck in the curled position where I'd been sat, and I couldn't, and I had nightmares for about 2 weeks. I couldn't believe he let me watch it, and he doesn't remember any of that. He doesn't remember. I questioned him about it yesterday, and he was like, I do not remember that. He was like, I probably just got fed up of you constantly asking me to watch it, so we watched it.
How old do you reckon that you were?
So 1997, so I would have been 5, but I'm pretty sure I was about 12 when I watched it. I'm pretty sure. So probably 6 years too young.
I had the same thing with The Silence of the Lambs, where I'd seen I think it may have even been the VHS in my dad's office, that eventually became the spare bedroom, and I was so transfixed by the cover, just that Jodie Foster's face with the moth over her mouth.
Yes, yeah.
I was like, what is that? I needed to know everything about it. I was studying the back of the VHS case, and my mum and dad had gone out somewhere of an evening, and they came home, and I'd been asking for weeks to watch it because I would have been around the same sort of age, like 12, 13, and my dad was like, no, it's too old, too mature and grown up for you. And I sat with like my colouring pens and drew the poster for some bizarre reason. And my parents came home, and my dad was like, he's drawn a picture of this poster, so he's that determined to see it. Yes. So I think he just caved the same way. But yeah, great story, Dan. And what about you, Charlie? When was the first time you watched it?
So I was round a friend's house who had an older brother, and he recorded it off the TV.
Nice.
Oh. So he had like the old school like blank VHS with just Event Horizon, no cover. right?
Old school,
Bang.
yeah.
So my friend was just like, "What is this?" And his brother was just like, "Oh, it's just a film about space." So we at midnight we snuck down the stairs at his parents' house, put it in, and was fucking terrified because I went into it like I'd seen Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, and then and you just, this is not
This is
a
not
film.
Jurassic
Well,
Park.
yes, it is a film in space, but I was not expecting what I saw, and I was probably around 10
Yeah.
or 11.
Did you have nightmares the same as Dan?
Yeah. I think we didn't go to bed that night. I think we just kind of tried to watch something funny.
I think when we get into the film and we talk about, the style and the kind of horror it is, it's easy to see why 10 and 12-year-olds probably did get a bit scared of it. Or us as 10 and 12-year-olds did. Because obviously there's so much stuff out now that obviously violence and scary-wise probably trumps it. But at the time, like, it's still scared. When I rewatched it the other day, it still scared me. Because I was transported back to that time when I first watched it. How about you, Ollie?
Sorry, I just wanted to. I saw a comment under a YouTube video this week. I watched. I said this when we weren't recording. I watched an interview with a British stunt woman. She might be an actress, but I from the way she described it, it made it sound like she was a stunt woman. And she's about 45 now. It was actually quite an interesting interview, about 20 minutes long. And she was one of the extras during the gorgy sequence that we're going to talk about. And in the comments section of this video, somebody said Event Horizon was one of the only films that made me scared to walk home on my own during the day.
Wow.
And I feel like we all have memories of watching a film at someone's house when you were younger and being a bit spooked walking home at night time, like jumping at shadows and what's that in that bush. This person on this YouTube comment said like this was the first and only film that made me scared like in broad daylight. And so my story is a bit less exciting than that. I was just out for dinner with family. There is a fantastic Chinese buffet in the town that we live that is like a family staple. We go to it a lot. And we were just there and we were talking over dinner. I think we were there with family friends. And I was just like you guys, a curious kid that loved all things sort of like horror and taboo and all those types of films. And my dad and whoever else he was having this conversation with just mentioned Event Horizon. And I was like, what's that? And they said, oh, it's a really scary movie set in space. And that was me. I was off to the races then. I was like, I need to see it. I had a really similar situation where we were at a family friend's house and my dad and his mate started talking about Candyman. And I'd never heard of that. And I said, oh, what's that? And they were like, oh, it's a really scary movie. So again, I was like, as soon as you say that, that's like crack to a kids like us. I was just like, I need to find out what that is. And of course, like we've said many times, I didn't have a smartphone because they weren't really a thing when I was that age. So like I was going into Blockbuster and looking for it or whatever, or whenever my mum would buy the TV mag, I would sit down and it would be one of those things. I had a short list in my head of films I would always look for that were going to be on, and then I'm pretty sure it was just on one night on TV. I stayed up to watch it. It would have been a school night, and it was one of those things where watched it in between fingers in places or like pulled the covers up just a little bit. I used to be one of those this is like before we had Sky or Virgin Media in my house. Whenever I was watching something that was scary, I would turn the brightness of the screen way down, so that with the remote, just in case something really scary happened, I wouldn't see it that much. So there was a lot of it where I was watching it on like 30% brightness or whatever.
Full transparency, I used to change to the next channel quickly.
You do the same thing, like, and then try and gaslight yourself into thinking I didn't see that. And I'll go back in 30 seconds when they've moved to the next bit or whatever. What memories?
Yeah, man.
What fun times.
That's what's so good about a film like this is that it is. That's why it's mind-boggling to me that it hasn't done it didn't do as well
People
as it had
so
done.
divided on it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well,
so we'll get into it. I'm just going to do a brief synopsis for people that don't know. If you've been living under a rock, I'm guessing most people that are listening would know what Event Horizon is.
I feel like the majority of people know it, but don't know. Well, that know of it, but don't actually know the full ins and outs. They might have heard of the like we said, the notorious Gorgie scene.
Yep.
But I feel like more people know of it than rather have seen it, because I feel like it is quite a like I said, a divide,
quite
a
a
film that
niche.
divide. Yeah,
I mean, because I did my sort of like mystery science theatre, amazing Criswell cringe introduction. We haven't really said like hello, welcome to the Missing Scene podcast. This is our what episode is it now? 19?
19.
19th episode. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much. If you're checking us out for the first time, we're three passionate film guys that just like to sit around and chat bollocks about movies.
yeah.
Please consider checking out our other stuff. We hope you enjoy this episode. So Event Horizon released in August of 1997, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who is known for his like video game adaptations mainly.
Yeah.
He'd had loads of success with Mortal Kombat.
Mhm.
He went on to do Resident Evil, Alien vs Predator, and other films like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a science fiction horror film set in. You can hear my notes rustling, my papers shifting. I do apologise. Set in the year 2047, which was in 1997 the distant future, but it's now like 25,
creeping up there.
less than 25 years,
22
years away. It follows a crew of astronauts sent on a rescue mission after a missing spaceship, the eponymous Event Horizon, spontaneously reappears after disappearing 7 years earlier. The rescue team come to realise that the ship has brought a sinister force back with it from wherever it has been dwelling for the previous 7 years. So that's the cold, and it doesn't really. One of the criticisms that I read today, and it was Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert that said this, it doesn't really have much of a narrative. There isn't really much of a screenplay. And it really is just that is your jumping off point, and then they get to the Event Horizon. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Obviously, lots of stuff happens,
Mm.
but in terms of like, this isn't the most detailed screenplay. It
Yeah.
isn't the most elaborate story.
No.
And without getting into spoilers, which we're going to, you can't really explain the plot much more than that.
No,
really,
that is
can you?
literally it. That
Yeah.
is, and it's what happens. I think at one point, I read somewhere that it said that it was that there was this point that it kind of went more at style over substance kind of thing, which I kind of disagree with. But I feel like this type of film doesn't need to have a massive lore or background to it or anything like that. It is just one of those films, pretty much maybe like a Con Air or something like that, where you enjoy it for what it is.
There is quite a good level of implied history, and the production design and art direction is fantastic, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I particularly, as someone that's interested in like art history, there's quite a few references to some great artists over the years, particularly with the hell imagery. The design of the spaceships and the interiors and stuff is fantastic, and people do gush over them. But I can see why people would say it's style over substance, but I agree with you. I don't necessarily think that's the case.
No.
It's got a fantastic cast. That's one of the things that people love to talk about, and we'll rattle through that quickly. So leading it is Lawrence Fishburne as Captain S.J. Miller. He is the captain of the rescue ship that's been sent off to find the Event Horizon. The ship is called the Lewis and Clark, which I think is quite cool. And he is sort of this no-nonsense. He reminds me... I'll tell you who he reminds me a bit of, and I got this vibe because I rewatched it twice this week. He reminds me of Kurt Russell's character in The Thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
In that you kind of get the idea that he may have been like ex-military, or because obviously in The Thing they kind of imply that he McCready might have been like a Vietnam vet or something. You could kind of get the impression the way he carries himself, the way that he talks,
He's very authoritative, isn't
exactly
he?
that he might be some sort of ex-military guy, but he's leading the film. Lawrence Fishburne, he's great. He's got such a fantastic voice, but he's our hero. Going up against him, I've said before in our other episodes, great heel turn from Dr.
Heel turn Neil.
Yeah, Dr. Grant himself, Sam Neill. He is playing Dr. William Billy Weir. He is the designer of the Event Horizon. He's like the architect behind the whole thing. He is brought in as like a consultant to help them navigate the ship. He is at first sort of scoffed at by the rest of the rescue crew, but he's like the expert, and eventually he becomes the villain of the film. His motivations we're going to get into. Is he possessed by the ship? Has he got some sort of affinity for it?
I've seen someone have a take that I'd never really thought of before, which again, we'll get into, definitely.
And then we have, I'm going to go through it a bit quicker now, Kathleen Quinlan as Peters, Jolie Richardson as Lieutenant M.L. Stark, Richard T. Jones as T.F. Cooper, and he's kind of the comic relief of the film, Jack Noseworthy as Justin Baby Bear. He is Ensign Justin. He's the youngest member of the rescue crew. Sorry, they sort of like lovingly call him Baby Bear.
Yeah.
And Jack Noseworthy is the one I told you about, the really funny Family Guy bit about Event Horizon.
The previous week.
Yeah, that's the character that. Isn't it great when Jack Noseworthy's eyes explode? I will show you that clip later on. Then we've got two national treasures in Jason Isaacs and Sean Pertwee as DJ the Doctor and Smitty the Navigator, the pilot. Sean Pertwee, the son of Doctor Who actor. Is he also called Sean Pertwee Senior? His dad,
Possibly.
Or John Pertwee.
I'm not too. I'm honestly,
I'm not a Doctor
Who. I'm
yeah.
not an expert. Yeah.
I love some episodes of Doctor Who, but I'm by no means an expert. I just know that his dad was one of the Doctors. I have quite a few friends who are massively into Doctor Who, so if they're listening, they're probably spitting and seething. But yeah, Jason Isaacs and Sean Pertwee round up the cast, and that's about it. You have a cameo of somebody, I can't remember her name. A cameo for somebody playing Weir's deceased wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then you got the crew, the previous crew
of the Event Horizon, yeah,
and then the Burning Man, we'll call him for now.
Yeah.
A couple of like rescuers at the end, right?
Yes, yeah, a few rescuers, but you don't really see their faces.
No.
Yeah. I've got a couple of cool things to you right if I just run through them quickly?
I was just going to talk about. Have you got anything about the sort of like the development of it? Because I was going to talk about.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, of course. If you want.
So the only things I got a couple of the bits were the script written by Eisner was the beginning of the idea, and he did a 5-word pitch to the producer of Die Hard and Predator, Lawrence Gordon. And it was just a haunted house in space.
Yeah.
And then Gordon then replied like, "Great, what happens?" And he's like, "I don't know. I haven't written it yet." But that 5-word kind of summary of a film, just to send it to someone who thinks, and then they're like, "That sounds amazing."
Yep.
Is such a unique and good way of selling a film.
Yep.
That it's again, I've said it before, baffling that it didn't do as well as I thought it could have done. Or that we thought it could have
We're
done.
going to get into that because I think there's a lot of things that were working against it.
Yeah.
I said it was released in August. There are quite a few people online that have said if this movie was released in October, or at the very least closer to the winter months, it would have done better. And I've always thought that. I mean, you think about, wasn't The Thing released in summer of 82 or whatever? It's like, why would you release a horror film that is specifically set in winter in the height of summer against E.T.? But yeah, carry on, Dan. Sorry.
So I had a couple of bits. Anderson was in demand after the Mortal Kombat film that we mentioned before that he'd done, and he actually turned down Alien Resurrections.
See, this is what I was gonna talk about. That's really interesting because one of the common criticisms of his films is that and this I think is especially true of this one and of AVP, is that he's massively trying to copy the sort of stock characters from the original Alien, right? And that is very, very obvious. Like
I get that vibe from the after the crows sleep and he's meeting the crew, scene, very much so. But the actual Event Horizon itself, completely different.
Of course, but just in like the characterization of these characters, how they sort of interact, the construction of like their relationships, the dialogue, things like that, and even obviously in AVP, but even in Resident Evil, he seems to be really, really fond of the original Alien, right? Which baffles me because that was one of my early sort of when I was sort of getting into films as like a hobby when I was younger. One of the things that repeatedly came up online about Anderson is that he has been trying for years to like make his own Alien.
Yeah.
And it's baffling to me that he turned down Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he did because I prefer Event Horizon to Alien Resurrection any day of the week. I'd take this over that. But I just thought that was interesting. I had the same thing written down.
So basically, he got this gig because he had a gap in his schedule. And I think he was having a conversation with William Friedkin at some point, and he said something about, I imagine if there was a film that was like The Exorcist meets Alien kind of thing. And then a producer or somebody who had this script heard that. He was like, "Oh, Anderson, why don't you read this?" And he said after the first few pages, he wasn't really that fussed. Then he got to page 20, and he said it's the first time he's ever read a script from page 1 to page 120 without stopping for a break, for nothing. And that's what and he said it's when he got to page 20, he's like, I need to know what happens, and he just read the whole thing in one sitting. It said it was the only first time that it's ever happened. So I think that's for a script to be that strong for somebody who seems to be so in demand. It's quite telling of, yeah, there might not be a ton of plot in it, but you want to know what happens. Anything else you want? That's all I had about the development of the film, or the inception of the film, how it came about, really.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot of, and I'm going to get into this when we like go through the plot and stuff. There's quite a lot of things that I personally thought it was drawing from, and then there's quite a lot of things that he and Eisner have said over the years they were looking at specifically. So Robert Wise's The Haunting, the original The Haunting, was a big inspiration. Tarkovsky's Solaris, which when we get to the art direction stuff and the production design, that comes into play. The Shining was obviously a big influence, and not to like parrot Siskel and Ebert again, but they sort of negatively compared it to that. But yeah, you can see that The Shining was a big influence.
Yeah.
Warhammer 40k, funnily enough,
yeah.
was like a big influence on it. Apparently, again, I'm not a Warhammer expert. We have some friends that are big into that, but allegedly the mechanics of faster than light travel in Warhammer is very similar to how the gravity drive works in this.
So we get on to the actual stuff. So a little bit of the design of the ship quickly before we get. So
I was just going to say I feel like it was hindered a bit because it was fast tracked after Titanic was pushed back. So Titanic was Paramount's like big thing that they were excited to release, and they knew it was going to make a bunch of money. When that got pushed back, this got fast tracked, but because of that, he got massively curtailed with the amount of time that he had for principal photography and for editing.
4 weeks for editing.
The Directors Guild at the time mandated that every filmmaker had to get like a minimum of 6 weeks to edit. He, as Charlie just said, only got 4. Principal photography was massively rushed. That's why quite a lot of the visual effects are unfinished. So it was sort of criticised at the time for saying that some of it looked unpolished. Well, they literally were working until the 11th hour, right to the mark. The visual effects were kind of groundbreaking because it was one of the first major films to animate like things like debris and fog and mist, like fully CGI animated. Which is quite interesting. But we'll get onto that because I have loads to talk about the art direction in particular. But should we get into like the plot breakdown?
Yeah,
or do you want to talk about like the design of the ship? I'll let you.
I'll just some of the things that I found out that were really interesting is that a lot of the Event Horizon was actually designed based off of the Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yes, yeah.
Like the metal work was kind of the stained glass windows designed, but then just turned into metal work. Some of the towers were the boosters turned on their side and bits like that. I thought that was such an interesting take. And they called it something like a techno medieval. Was what they called it. It's like when the lights are on. I think they described it as when the lights are on, it's all futuristic. But as soon as the lights go off, it's like you're in a castle, and like the especially the scene or the bits where you're at the bridge and it's got all like the human remains splattered in those like kind of like window bits. Like it doesn't look like it's a futuristic ship, and I just love that style of the ship. And they seem to put a lot of emphasis on. You've got your big stars, you've got your Lawrence Fishburne, your Sam Neill, but the ship itself, if the ship isn't intriguing to the viewer, then it's not going to work as a film.
No, 100%. That's where I get a lot of the sort of the Robert Wise Haunting coming through, because that was really groundbreaking with some of the practical effects for like the visual trickery to represent the haunting in that film, like doors distorting and morphing and things, like the actual building itself starting to distort and change, all those sorts of things. They play so much with like the lighting, the shadows, many things that appear in flashes. Like you were saying, the design of it is just like this bizarre fusion of sort of like gothic religious structures, but then like almost like BDSM sex dungeons.
Yes.
It's like this weird amalgamation of There's throws of Star Trek in it, which I
Yeah.
think is really interesting because Paramount. I was thinking this the whole time when I was watching it the other day. I was like, I'm getting massive Star Trek vibes from this, and Paramount were apparently really worried that they were going to tarnish the Star Trek brand because they thought it was quite similar. At least the
Ooh.
initial part and
Yeah.
like the procedural elements of going out
Mm.
on an expedition into space and really getting into the character of Miller as a captain and everything, and how space search and rescue works.
So they thought it was going to have a negative impact.
A negative impact on Star Trek because Paramount owns Star Trek, and that was a big thing
That's
for them.
mad.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like this big melting pot of Star Trek, Kubrick. There's like shades of German expressionism, Weimar cinema, horror in there, and then obviously your weird body horror, Wachowski, like BDSM stuff. But yeah, should we get into the plot?
Yes. So I'll start with right from the beginning. Shall we go, guys?
Yeah.
Right. So
And then, before we, I think the thing that this film is like most infamous for, that I can't believe we've not really spoken about yet, is the gorgy sequences. So
I think we'll save it to when we get to that point,
yeah,
because there's a lot to it. There's not. It's obviously the scene itself is, but there is so much more behind it that obviously that has come to light since it's been released.
yeah.
But we will definitely be getting to that.
I mean,
soon.
yeah, because like on a visual level, it's drawing from so many different works of art. You've got like the Last Temptation of Saint Anthony. You've got the Last Judgment triptych. There's like Bruegel painting inspiration in there. It's like there's so much going on for what ultimately amounts to be like a couple of seconds worth of footage.
Yeah.
But
And it's so quick as well.
That is what this film is infamous for. Is it shows how impactful and frightening that must have been watching it in the cinema in 1990. Like a couple of flashes, and people still talk about it today.
Because it happens, and it also happens throughout the film.
Yes,
There's bits like where Captain Miller puts his head on the ship, and all of a sudden you get half a second flash of just horror.
Yeah.
But you can't.
viscera and gore.
But it's so quick. You know you've seen something that is terrible, but you don't really know what it is you've seen.
Yeah,
And that's that kind of horror, or doing that kind of technique is, especially throughout the film, is constant. It's just intense, and it's one of the things that really worked for this film. But yeah, so we'll get started with the plot. So I'm going to try something different here. So we'll see if it works out. If it doesn't, I'll just cut it. Right. So basically, at the beginning of the film, you have the big Paramount Mountain, and what I love about this, straight away, it doesn't even just like fade away. The camera pans over the mountain into the space, and then the music you heard, the intro music, just starts, and it's intense, it's energetic, yet it kind of feels full of dread.
Not to make yet another Alien comparison, but I think Alien's going to come up a lot. Another film that I love that does that really plays with the opening ident turning into music. Alien 3, Elliot Goldenthal, when the 20th Century Fox music is playing, instead of, like you say, it sort of ending and transitioning, it like the music starts to warp into this really
it makes
haunting.
it part of it.
Yeah, exactly, part of it. And I love that. And
yeah, the music for this is like, it's just the energy you get from it. You feel like it should be an upbeat kind of I can't wait, but it's not that. It's the complete opposite. It is dreadful. It's just not nice.
well, the score was done in part by, there is a band whose name I can't remember, unfortunately, but I know that more of the orchestral stuff was done by Michael Kamen, who passed away quite young, unfortunately. But he did, and this shows why we love it so much. He did the music for none other than Die Hard, License to Kill, Roadhouse, and X-Men.
Wow.
So,
Okay. Okay.
He's made quite a lot of score. He's not like a household name like John Williams is.
No.
But he's composed films that everybody loves, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And the music is it's used quite sparingly in this film, the orchestral music, but when it's there, it's really quite disquieting and bizarre.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's how it starts. The opening Paramount logo.
We go through a wormhole after the credits to a computer screen, updating us on the recent space exploration activities. 2015, first permanent colony established on Moon. 2032, commercial mining begins on Mars. 2040. Deep space research vessel Event Horizon launched to explore boundaries of our solar system. She disappears without a trace beyond the 8th planet Neptune. It is the worst space disaster on record. 2047. Now. And that is all the information we are being given at that point.
Yeah, do you see what I mean about like the implied history?
Yes.
They establish quite, and again, none of that other than the Event Horizon specific stuff, none of that really gets touched upon. And
No.
and it doesn't really matter. It's just
It's just
setting the
interesting,
stage.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean,
interesting.
It's quite funny to find out that in 2015, apparently there's, or so what should have been 10 years ago now,
yeah.
would be an established colony on Earth, and in 7 years' time, we will begin mining on Mars.
Yeah.
When's Total Recall set?
Well, this is the thing, right? I can give you a list, and these are some of all collectively all three of our favourite films. You got stuff like Blade Runner, Total Recall, Demolition Man, RoboCop. It's really sad watching these films, Starship Troopers. Sad watching these films now in 2025, and the distant future of 2019 was like 6 years ago. Or whatever, do you know what I mean? Luckily, we're not at 2047 just yet.
No.
But if you're
we still
listening,
got a few years.
If you're listening from the future, then we might indeed be 2047.
So there might be a secret project going on right now that we don't know about, because this is technically a secret project, is it not? The Event Horizon wasn't meant to be known, obviously, about, because obviously I think with the technology behind it.
Yeah. I would love to have known how the whoever, because they don't say whether it's NASA or like a private company.
No,
like
they don't,
SpaceX.
do they?
They don't really. Again, it's implied history, but they don't really get into it.
No.
I'd love to have known how the PR company would have spun that. Oh yeah, this $1 billion ship that was filled with 20 people that we sent up to space for no reason just disappeared. Don't worry about it though.
It's only $1 billion.
Yeah, it's fine. It's nothing major.
So that's the little bit of exploration activities that we get told about. So from here we arrive at a vessel suspended in Neptune's orbit, the Event Horizon. We glide around the ship and enter a gigantic corridor where gravity is non-existent and items float around. The ship seems abandoned until we accelerate towards and eventually enter the mouth of a floating, mutilated body, exiting through the eye of Dr. Weir, as if woken up by a nightmare we've just seen.
Now, this is where if you want to make unfavourable comparisons to Aliens or Alien or the Shining, it does sort of jump straight into it.
Yeah.
There are many things that you can say about this film. Subtlety is not one of them.
No.
It's not a particularly subtle film, and they do sort of, that establishes the tone of this film right off the bat. You're immediately hit with a gory ass, gnarly jump scare, some mutilated
a guy that has been shredded.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's how it grabs you. There's no sort of like in Alien or whatever, or the Haunting. There's no sort of
slow
build,
like implied horror.
Yeah, or like tension building. Because you got to remember what in like Alien, how many minutes is it in before John Hurt gets whacked?
Oh, it's like 45 minutes, nearly an hour, isn't it?
It's crazy.
We're 3 minutes in here.
Well, yeah, even it's right off the bat.
Yeah,
and this is the first of 2 fake out jump scares at the start.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, towards.
Yeah.
So after that, Dr. Weir. So from it's pretty much straight into it. Dr. Weir looks at a photo of his wife Claire, placing it with dozens more on his way to shave. We discover that he is currently located on a low orbit space station. He boards a rescue ship, the Lewis and Clark, and with a team consisting of Captain Miller, Peters, Stark, Cooper, Justin, aka Baby Bear, DJ, and Smith. They then go into cryosleep. 56 days in, Weir wakes up before everyone else. He walks the ship to find his wife naked in a seat. She has no eyes.
Billy? So cold. I'm waiting.
He then wakes from his nightmare and is brought to his senses by the crew.
Probably my favourite scream in a horror movie. That has been clipped and used soundbited by so many YouTubers.
Mm.
I think the person that's probably made it the most famous is the Critical Drinker on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have seen his videos.
No.
He's just like a culture analyst, pundit, whatever you want to call it. But he uses that as like a reaction to whenever he's talking about a film that is particularly shit and like a really stupid moment happens, he'll just cut to Sam Neill going, "Whoa!" It's not even like a scream, is it?
No,
it's like
No.
the critical drinker is quite a controversial guy, so that's not like us endorsing anything. It's just
No.
that's where I
Yeah.
You've
most
seen that from pop
I've
culture.
seen, yeah, he uses that quite a lot. It gets me every time. He just sort of like doesn't really scream. His face doesn't move. He just sort of looks at her and goes,
Do you know what? I genuinely think, like, I know I'm right. So I love this film. I will defend, and I don't want to sound like I'm just defending it for the sake of defending it, but that kind of guttural scream feels like it's the right type of like yell to do, because he's like he doesn't realize he's in a dream. He thinks it's real, right? And
that was my take as well. It's just like, if I was in a dream, that's possibly what you sound
I've been jumped. Someone's made me jump. Like if I've walked into a die house and like I don't know, someone's just gone. Ah! I don't go. Ah! I go. Ah!
Yeah.
Like, I go.
Yeah.
You go. Ah! You try and breathe, and it's just. I feel like it is fun. Like it is mad. The way he just stares at her. The whole scene for him must have just been fucking terrifying.
yeah.
But I feel like that's the right type of scream. Like not to do just like a. And he doesn't run. He's so petrified. He's just standing there. He doesn't know what to do. And then yeah, obviously it turns out it is a dream, and he's just waking up.
Shaving with a real Sweeney Todd straight razor as well. He's
Yes.
not using, Like, the whole thing has just got this sort of bizarreness to it. But yeah, that scream, it gets me every time. I love it.
Oh,
It's
so
good.
we've got a few more clips. But when I got the clips, I didn't originally have that one, and then Ollie messaged me at like 2 a.m. or whatever it was. He just said, "Actually, I know you've put everything away, but can you just get Weir's gut scream?" And then I'll try, because it is again. Well, there's another jump scare we'll talk about soon, but yeah, it is a very unique moment.
So yeah, this is how he's the first sort of character that we're properly introduced to, and
we
there
get
is-
a bit more time with.
Yeah, and there is a shift midway through the film, like a change of perspectives, and we stop following him. But for the first half of the film, he is really our sort of vessel, and we follow him as he's introduced to the crew, and he's obviously the outsider. He's the one that has been brought on, and they don't really like him. There's a bit of tension between him and Miller and other characters.
Smith is one of the pilot.
Yeah.
Later on, he doesn't like. He just doesn't really interacting with him.
But
at
he
all.
is sort of positioned as the film starts as like the main character.
Yes,
And
yeah.
then it shifts about halfway through, and it
Yeah.
becomes Miller, and he's the one we follow, and obviously Sam Neill, he turns evil. But yeah, I just think it's interesting because again, it's kind of
It's a nice change to have the main character. Obviously, we've probably seen films where the main character has then become a villain.
yeah.
But the fact that we go from that, like you say, that change in perspective, we then start following Miller a lot more and the crew a lot more, and Weir kind of slowly becomes distant from the crew, and distant from what we see kind of works really well.
Yeah.
This is also the moment where we get our first proper bit of what is needed, comic relief. So,
Yeah.
like you've mentioned before, Cooper, he's like, I can't remember what his job title is. Even Miller doesn't know what he does.
He's oh my god, he's like a repair engineer.
He's
or
like
something,
health
isn't
and safety
Something
kind
like
of
that.
emergency man, isn't he?
Well, this is what I was going to get to, right? Because like I have made the comparison to Alien quite a few times. If there is one sort of thing that I don't really like about this film, other than Miller, they don't really seem like a convincing, to me at least, search and rescue team.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
all seem very undisciplined, very sort of laid back, joking and whatnot. And like they all have their roles, but they don't seem like seasoned search and rescue. Like the equivalent would be like in a Coast Guard team or whatever.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And none of them. It's very much like, right, we're doing the Alien thing of these. We're trying to make these real, relatable sort of characters, right? Seasoned people rather than just like copy paste. But in Alien, that worked because they were meant to be working class sort of truckers in space, weren't they? They aren't meant to be disciplined military men or search and rescue guys. They are just some truckers doing a job for a company. In this film, I kind of, other than Miller, I kind of find it hard to believe that these people have rescued anyone. They're all kind of shit. And
Miller, I completely agree with you. Miller is, the way Lawrence Fishburne plays that character, he is so authoritative and he plays it so well that he is serious in this. He very rarely does he crack a smile or make a joke.
Yep.
Whereas everybody else has some kind of maybe jokey or loose moment. He is very much locked in the whole time.
The comparison to Star Trek being obviously in the original crew films and the show, yes, they all crack wise with each other, and there's some they aren't these professional military men all the time, because that's not what the Federation is. But you get it's very believable that the Scotty and Bones and everybody, they can do their job and do it well, and they've been doing it for a long time. Quite a lot of these characters, particularly, I've forgotten their names already. This is part of the thing. But like you say, Cooper and Justin and whatnot, I don't believe for a second that they're actually
No.
search and rescue guys.
Well, they mentioned that I think a lot of it as well is, here I go again, I'm going to try and defend this film just for the sake of it. But like, they mentioned that they don't want to be here. They should have been on a break. It kind of feels like that. Why should we care about a vessel that's gone missing and just appears? We're going into deep space just for the sake of, like, when we should be on pretty much basically annual leave. Nobody actually wants to be there. So I could kind of see them not caring. But also, I do see the angle of they should probably be a little bit more serious.
It does kind of bring to mind Aliens, not Hicks. I can't remember. Oh my god.
It is Hicks, isn't it?
No. Oh, who's your man? He's in the Terminator, in Titanic. Died recently. He died at age 50. He's also in Predator 2. I should know this because he's like in my favourite films of all time. I can picture him now, but he's the one that goes, "Is this going to be another bug hunt, sir, or a stand-up?" Like they, you know who I'm just talking about. I can't remember. This is really, really embarrassing.
It is
For
very
supposedly a
embarrassing.
film podcast, and I can't remember his name. But it looks like it kind of like, to me, seems like they're trying to go for that. In Aliens, none of them want to be there, and they think it's all just some wild goose chase, and they don't take Sigourney Weaver seriously at all. Is this going to be another bug hunt, sir?
Is it that Bill Paxton?
Yes!
Yeah.
Charlie
Sorry,
Paul.
it took
Charlie
me
came
a while, yeah.
Sorry,
Fuck's
it's embarrassing that it took us.
That long.
We might edit this out just to save face. No, but
No.
see what I mean? Like, and the same thing here, that none of them take Weir seriously.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
at
the
all.
next scene is when he is basically off 56 days in cryosleep. He is now introduced to the crew, and we're kind of introduced to the crew a lot more as well. So we find out that Smithy's the pilot, Cooper's again, we don't know. Baby Bear, aka Justin, he's like the kind of engineer, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's the engineer. Captain Winner's captain. DJ's trauma. And all that. So that's the next. So he gets introduced to everyone, and then this is where Weir explains what the mission is about. Now, as soon as he hears he says the term Event Horizon, everyone just starts flipping out and freaking out.
Right. Well, that's bullshit for a start.
Yep.
That's what Pertwee says.
Yeah. So everybody knows the history of this disappearing vessel,
Right.
and
Well, that's bullshit for a start.
and then he goes on explaining basically what the Event Horizon is, what it does, how it's able to travel so far in such a short distance of time, about it disappearing without a trace. And then the next scene is where we hear this captain's log audio, which is kind of undecipherable until, well, you'll hear for yourself. This is
So I just want to, before you play
Yes.
the really disturbing audio, the mechanics of the not time travel. Well, it could be. This is the thing we don't know. The mechanics of the
space travel,
the gravity drive
Yes.
is one of the most interesting parts of the film, and it's where a lot of the horror comes from. And there's the comparison to Warhammer, essentially. And Interstellar actually has like a really similar way of explaining it. The ship is able to sort of
folds space and time from point
Yeah.
A to point B.
Transport itself, rather than going through space, it takes 2 points of space and puts them together, so the
Yeah.
2 areas coexist at the same time, essentially leaving our dimension and reappearing at another point in space, traveling through another dimension.
Well,
the horror is
yeah.
obviously that we don't know where this other dimension is. Is it a place? Does it exist outside of time? Does it obey the laws of physics? Eventually, they sort of imply that it could be what is close to like Christian hell. But this is where a lot of the sort of Eldritch Lovecraftian horror element comes in, because obviously we're tampering with ideas of physics that in the film at least they don't understand, and so it goes beyond science and almost becomes a bit mystical, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It becomes quite fantastical.
I love. Well, it's like you say, it's very similar to how they explain it in Interstellar. He basically gets a poster of Smith's favorite lady.
Yep.
Folds her in half. I can't remember what her name is. Like, I think you find that's Dolores, and that's mine, or something like that.
Yeah.
Pokes a hole in point A, pokes a hole in point B, folds the piece of paper in half, and then passes the pencil through the 2 holes that he's created.
Yep.
Which is quite easy to understand when you put it like that, and it's a great way of. He's basically trying to show people that have no idea how this works the easiest way of doing it. Like Cooper says, layman terms, do you speak English?
Yep.
Like they have no idea. I think that kind of shows their working class,
And I mean,
kind of background as well.
that these ideas and concepts aren't actually too far away from what actual scientists and physicists have been talking about, because obviously this shares a lot with the way Interstellar, like we said, explains the travel in that film. And that was Christopher Nolan consulted like Kip Thorne and a lot of genuinely blindingly intelligent real world physicists to make sure that was as scientifically accurate, at least as to the understanding of physics that they had when that film was being made, as it possibly could be. And it shares a lot with this film, which predates it by like 20 odd years or whatever. So it's actually pretty impressive when you think about it like that. But yeah, it's not too far away. Again, if I'm wrong, people can correct me, and I've made myself look like a massive twat. But from my understanding, it's not too far away from reality.
Yeah. So we play the audio. So
the ship comes back, and this is the only bit
information
of bit of evidence they've got as to where the ship has been for 7 years.
Where's she been for the last 7 years, Doctor?
That's what we're here to find out. Now, we've been unable to verify live contact. The TDRS did receive this single transmission.
The fucking hell is that?
Listen to this. Houston passed the same recording through several filters, managed to isolate what appears to be a human voice. I'm not even sure if it qualifies as language.
Latin.
What?
I mean, I think it sounds like Latin.
Can you translate it?
Play it again.
Right there. You hear that?
Sounds like Liberate me something. I don't know. I can't make out the rest.
Liberate me.
Save me.
God, it sends me chills every time I hear that audio. It does send chills, because it is. You can clearly hear screams, but then there's this overriding kind of like this other sound that overlays it, which kind of gives it. It's just not nice. And obviously, what happens later in the film, you can understand why. So that is that's basically them up to date, and then the alarms go off, and then they're basically in Neptune's, I'd say, low atmosphere orbit. Where the event horizon is, and they say it's close, but we can't see it, and then they basically nearly crash straight into the event horizon.
It's so stressful. That whole, he's like 800 meters, and we should see it. We should see it. Where is
Yeah,
it?
you can't see it at all.
Yeah. Oh.
But you don't actually realise this. In that's because until they and she, I think Stark's the one that finally sees it. She's like, it's there.
Yeah.
You don't actually realise just how big the event horizon really is.
Yeah.
Because the only time we've seen it now is at the beginning of the credits where we're floating around and you just see a ship in space.
Yeah.
But now you're comparing it to the size of the Lewis and Clark, and it is gigantic.
Yeah.
It's huge. So then Miller, Justin, and Peters board the event horizon. With Weir guiding them through the Lewis and Clark. He's a bit pissed that he's not allowed on straight away, but they kind of you have to. Miller finds no one in medical but a glove.
I'm in medical. No casualties. Place looks like it's never been used.
You still haven't seen any crew?
If we saw any crew, Doctor, you'd know it by now. Scanning for life readings. This place is a tomb. Oh, fuck me!
Miller, are you okay?
Again, this I think we've said this before. The reactions to some of these jobs are the most realistic reactions you would actually get in a horror film if this was happening to you.
Yeah. There are so many, particularly from Lawrence Fishburne. His reactions are really.
Again, when rewatching and preparing all these audio clips, and I think the only one that you said beforehand was can you get or like you said about. I think I just finished rewatching it. At like half 12.
I was like 20 minutes into it by that point. I just got to that point.
He just sent me the text saying Miller's fuck me reaction is the most realistic reaction to actually being scared.
This is one of my favourite sequences in the film when they're doing this initial exploring and they're sort of finding the aftermath of it. Again, making a comparison to The Thing, it reminds me of when they first go to the Norwegian camp and they are trying to piece together this absolute horror shit show of a scene that they've discovered where there's just bodies and blood and viscera. In this, you don't initially see it, but like I said earlier, they're like playing tricks with the lighting and stuff. There are moments of flashes where the lighting reveals like viscera on the wall and blood and guts and stuff. We haven't spoken about who lensed this. The DOP was Adrian Biddle, who was I think he's got a really good like knack for visuals, but he was a sought after guy, and his first and like most major credit as a director of photography was lensing Aliens. So a lot of the visuals are not only is like the screenplay drawing a lot from like the Alien franchise, and like the characterizations of the crew and stuff, but you've literally got the same guy that photographed Aliens. He went on to do Thelma and Louise, Willow, Judge Dredd, The Mummy, and V for Vendetta. He was BAFTA and Oscar nominated. But again, like Michael Kamen, the guy that did the music, he died quite young. He's like 55.
Really?
But yeah,
That's surprising.
He photographed some great films.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has heard of pretty much all of those films that you just said.
I say he went on to do. Sorry, he did Aliens, Judge Dredd, and Thelma and Louise and Willow before this. So he got like quite a good catalogue under his belt, like quite a good portfolio. And I think he must have been sought out by Anderson because of the Aliens connection.
Yeah. So after Miller's jump scare, we're following. Before that, Peters is also she's searching. I think she's searching medical, and she's searching the bridge. Sorry, and she finds a disc, which we're assuming is the video log of the. And then as she's trying to get, you just see this thing float behind her on the left-hand side, which I didn't notice the first few times.
Yeah,
it wasn't until recently I noticed this thing float behind her. And then as she pulls the disc out, she turns around and there's the mutilated body that we see at the beginning of the film is behind her. And then obviously you see like what's happened to him. It looks like he's been mauled by an animal. And then Justin is going down to the gravity drive chamber, which the gravity drive chamber, basically you have to go it looks like you get them at like theme parks and stuff like that. So it's basically he has to go through this bridge, and it looks what they coined it the meat grinder axis, and then it got put into the film. And apparently it's supposed to represent the 7 circles of hell going into the gravity drive chamber. And then the gravity drive, all of us is spinning around. It's just constantly spinning. It's got lights. The design of the gravity drive,
even the door to it.
Oh, it's got gothic and terrifying.
Like spikes on the side of the door.
Yeah. And I remember thinking because that's the main image on the back of the DVD VHS and all that, is that image, and it looks terrifying. So the gravity drive spinning around, and then all of a sudden it stops, and then it just blinding light opens up, and then Justin's like video camera goes offline. No one can see what's happening. He then sticks his finger basically into the void, and then his hand, and then he gets pulled in. Like at an extreme speed, his safety cord gets ripped off the wall in the Lewis and Clark, and then there's an explosion that comes out of the void, damaging the Lewis and Clark. And then Cooper's he's making his way to Justin, saying, "I'm coming, baby bear." And as he's pulling on his cord, Justin floats out of the void back into Cooper's arms, and then gravity is then reinstalled, and they all fall. And that is the next point where we're going to stop, because that whole sequence is the music is intense. You've got explosions. Everything about that scene is kind of like, because we've kind of calmed down a little bit. We've got like little bits of scared elements in it, and then just that happens.
But again, by this point, we don't really know. So Weir has explained that this is an experimental ship. It's got the ability to travel faster than the speed of light. But other than that, we still don't really know what the hell this big sort of rotating obelisk thing is.
Yeah.
As you say, they're going through this bizarre like S&M meat grinder chamber, and we have no frame of reference for what we don't know yet that is the gravity drive. We don't know that is powering the faster than light travel. It just sort of activates, and again, we don't really know what's happening, because we don't know that signifies that it's been turned on, and he just gets sucked in.
This whole point as well, because Weir's on the Lewis and Clark at this point.
Yeah.
And every time he's talking about it, he looks like a proud father.
Yeah.
He's like always looking at Stark, saying like he calls it the heart of the ship. He calls the gravity drive the heart of the ship. But like you say, he doesn't exactly say that is what powers the faster than light speed travel. But he just looks proud. And it's kind of like a little bit unnerving to think that this guy's created this, but nobody actually knows what it is. And just the fact that it's just that it's done so well, that the design of that gravity, of the core, the gravity drive, with the spinning rings, the constant spinning rings, and then it's just pure black. Like that whole design of it is just, this is a very unique film in terms of, like we said before, the production design. The whole chamber that it's in is just like spikes coming out of walls. It's like a ball with it literally is pretty much a heart. I think they said the design that they used, the rings, was supposed to be like constant movement, was supposed to be like a brain, or like the movement of like a pulsing brain. So it's like the kind of ship's alive and all that stuff. And you can kind of see that that idea they went for kind of works. After that, everybody then, because of the explosion, everybody pretty much has to board the Event Horizon. I think Smith is the only one that's outside, kind of looking at the damage that's done to the Lewis and Clark, and he doesn't want to go on the Event Horizon at all. So the gravity drive room is then closed off by Miller, and Weir is not happy about it. And we can kind of see that Weir is starting to be drawn towards that kind of the core, and he's starting to turn. This is where he's starting to turn a little bit, and then we kind of see that transition into us focusing more on the crew and Miller, whilst Weir's kind of distancing himself a little bit. Would you say? Did
you have the soundbite? Sorry, I derailed you. Was there another soundbite that you were going to play when Justin gets sucked into the...
I didn't get that one.
You didn't? Okay, no. Cool. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'd cut you off.
No, you didn't. Don't worry. No, cool. We're all good. So we see Weir's being drawn into it. And then in the medical bay, Peters is looking after Justin, who's pretty much just in a coma with his eyes constantly open. And at this point, when you look at his eyes, they're just pure black. It doesn't look like they're his eyes, really. So he's just staring into space. Nothing's happening. And then... this is where we start to see kind of these weird visions, and like everybody's starting to see things that they don't know whether they're real or not. So Peter sees, she hears like some kind of like scratching or like some kind of movement, and then she's walking over to another medical table that has like a tent over it, and then you just see this hand in the tent moving. And then after she takes the tent away, it's her son, isn't it? It's her son is just laying there, but all his legs are like
gangrenous, and they've got open sores that are weeping. They start to, each of them are troubled with these, like you say, these really odd, unsettling visions, and you're not really sure what's going on, and they're all sort of second guessing themselves, but they're all sort of tailored to their own specific fears and stuff. So she has a son that you get sort of really briefly introduced to through dialogue. She's got a son who's disabled back on Earth, and they, like you said earlier, I believe they were like on shore leave or something, but they've been taken out into space to lead this rescue mission. She's had to leave her son for like 6 months or whatever it's going to be, and she's got anxiety about that. So her fears manifest in her son. He's literally rotting from the waist down, and it's a really gnarly image, and they don't really linger on it for that long.
No.
But compared to the rest of the gore, what's unsettling about that is it's like realistic.
Yeah.
Like it looks like he's got trench foot, or like I say, he's got weeping wounds and ulcers and things on his legs and everything. In Miller's case, he has a flashback, like a reoccurring thing to a crew member that he'd lost on a previous expedition.
It's all I think I saw. Well, I read something about it. They were going for those kind of manifestations that is put before them is to do with like you say, fear, but also guilt. And one of the things that actually I was going to ask you is that we kind of see these. So Miller has, like you say, Miller has one, Peters has one, Weir's constantly got one, but we don't really see any of the other crew have that type of like vision, or people hear stuff, but they don't really have that kind of like guilt. Like, is it because they haven't had like a moment in time that has guilted them that much?
I don't know. Maybe it's just because they're kind of peripheral characters. You're not really made privy to them as much as... Sorry, Charlie.
That's fine, yeah. So I read something that the people that have the visions have something to repent.
Okay, yeah.
So...
okay.
And there was a little bit of foreshadowing when when Justin's blown out of the gravity airlock.
Oh, yeah, the gravity drive. Yeah.
He's known as, was it Baby Bear?
Yeah.
And then the lady with the kid is known as like Mama Bear.
Yeah.
And there's a shot of the console in the smaller ship, and there's a toy bear that falls.
Oh, I've not picked
off,
up on that.
But it kind of shakes up and it falls off, and then that kind of foreshadows a little
I've
bit of
never picked that
a
up.
death later on.
I've never picked that up. That's I'm gonna have to rewatch it again. What a shame.
So yeah, earlier I said that this film doesn't really have like that involved of a screenplay, and not that sort of not a lot of stuff really happens. I think this is one of the main key plot points. They are forced to basically go on the event horizon because of this. The structural damage to the Lewis and Clark puts them on like a running clock. They've only got 20 hours worth of usable oxygen, and so this is the sort of inciting incident that makes, because if that didn't happen, then you'd like to think that, considering how practical and relatable Miller ends up being, he'd just say, fuck this, we're going home. And they just get on the ship and fuck off and say,
there's no one here, the crew's gone, there's no one here.
Yeah, we'll come back with nukes, or with like 400 other guys. When we're not running around when there's only 6 of us and one's already incapacitated, like we're going home. But because the explosion, whatever it is that's happening in the gravity drive, has damaged the Lewis and Clark, they have no choice but to go on to the event horizon, which basically sets more things in motion, because they're going into the belly of the beast, aren't they?
Yeah. I think also that when they land on the event horizon, Sam Neill's character warns them that they shouldn't land there because it's not weight bearing part of the ship.
Yeah.
So when they're blown, it's sort of part of their own kind of fault for landing there.
Yep.
But also, it's just...
So they're stranded on this haunted vessel. And by this point, they're all understandably getting pissed off, so they start to press Weir for some explanation.
Yes. So after all that situation, they're in the medical bay, and they plug in the captain's log, They're watching it, but it's introduces you to the previous captain and previous crew of the Event Horizon, and then he says something in Latin. I don't know what it is. I can't remember what it is, but he basically says "good luck" or "we'll see you on the other side," and then it's just distorted and you just see flashes of red. You literally can't make out what is happening, but you hear the audio basically again that we previously heard at the beginning of the film. Then the core starts to drain power. So Weir and Miller go to investigate. Weir then goes, I love the design of this. He basically goes into one of the walls where there's all these, it's basically lit up green walls with circuits where he's trying to find the damage done.
It reminded me, Cube.
Yes.
Yeah. It reminded me of that. It also reminded me of, is it 13 Ghosts with Matthew Lillard?
Yeah.
When they go into the basement and all the ghosts are trapped in those chambers.
Yes.
This real sort of horrible clinical. I've made the joke about it being like a BDSM chamber, but like there's like exposed circuitry and it's really
in Jaws seems to be the focus pull.
The dolly zoom.
The dolly zoom.
Yeah.
There's a great one. They do that dolly zoom, but because it's a corridor, is literally the corridor just extends,
elongating,
and extends, and it just keeps going, making it more like labyrinthian. Like he is not going to escape whatever's going on. So then the lights start shutting down. This is where Miller is. He's basically asking Weir like what's going on, and then Miller's asking Weir what's going on. Weir has another vision of his wife, which is another jump scare because the lights are going on and off, and then all of a sudden she just appears. And then this is where Miller sees the Burning Man, but we don't know who the Burning Man is yet.
No.
But he's in the gravity chamber with them.
But we were talking about the design of the chamber and the production design and everything, and drawing on these sort of really gothic. I was talking about earlier. It sort of reminded me of certain bits of Weimar cinema and German expressionism and stuff. Anderson, I found this quite interesting, had a conversation during development with none other than Clive Barker. And quite a lot of the scenes in the gravity chamber in particular remind me of some of the sets in Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, when they go into hell, and the depiction of hell in the Hellraiser universe isn't quite it is more like the Dante interpretation, where it's less like the Temptation of Saint Anthony and more just this sort of like MC Escher painting of just sort of it's incomprehensible geometry in space.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know where one path goes. It's all sort of like never-ending repeating corridors and chambers, but it's all bleak and black and gothic. And that's what the gravity chamber kind of reminds me of. Like when he goes into that corridor that you were talking about, the green one, it just seems to extend forever.
Yeah.
And you don't really know how big this labyrinth is or where one thing starts and one thing doesn't. And that sort of adds to the unnervingness of it all. You don't really get a clear sense of geography.
No.
And when the scale, we were talking earlier about when they first arrive outside Neptune, the Event Horizon is massive. Yeah. Like compared to their ship is tiny. The Lewis and Clark ship. So you get the impression that this thing is just like going on for miles. It is really massive. And that the gravity chamber is this, like you were saying, the heart of this really like unending labyrinth of just dark, dingy corridors. And you get the impression that there's moisture in there as well, like it's wet. That's why I'm getting, because there's a pool of water, isn't there? The gravity drive is sort of
must be like some kind of coolant or something. Yeah,
exactly,
like that.
some sort of liquid. But it gives, again, you think about Alien when Harry Dean Stanton gets killed. He walks into that room and there's like you get the impression that the spaceship is so big, it has its own like water cycle. Like there's rain and moisture and stuff. I get the same impression. You can almost picture what it smells like in there. It's probably really gross and damp and dingy. But I thought it was interesting. I didn't know that he'd spoken to Clive Barker.
I didn't know either
when he was developing it.
It's actually quite interesting because a couple of the other things they say about the design of the ship is that the shape of the corridor is shaped like an eye, as if like they're kind of always being watched.
Yes, it is. It's like an oval. Yeah.
So they kind of think like the crew are always being watched. There is always like a kind of presence around them. And another interesting thing is that it's shaped like an upside down crucifix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which again, you don't really think about these things, but it's so clearly obvious.
I mean, the religious and evangelical imagery is insane. Like I said, the gorgy scenes that like it's drawing on like the Garden of Earthly Delights, and I've said quite a few times, Last Temptation of St. Anthony and things like that. Loads of these sort of really gnarly religious paintings of hell and stuff like that. And then when it's Jason Isaacs that is the first one to sort of say it out loud. Like, do you think that the ship has gone to hell?
Yeah.
And then they have that conversation about belief and whether they believe in it or not. And then obviously one of the most quotable lines of the film is Sam Neill says once he's done his heel turn, he says like, hell is just a concept. The reality is far, far worse.
Hell is just a word.
Hell is just a word. But yeah, so by this point everything's fucked.
Yeah.
And the Burning Man appears.
And then Justin is having convulsions.
Yes,
and he wakes up from his coma, and he's like, he basically says like that it's inside me, and they ask him what, and he says the dark or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Then he continues to have these convulsions, and basically he pretty much goes back into another coma. Then on the bridge, they're all discussing everything they're seeing. Miller's saying like, I could feel heat. This isn't a vision. This isn't the core messing around with us or some kind of radiation or whatever it is. I could feel heat. Everyone can feel. Everyone feels like these are real. What they're seeing is real.
That's what I love about Lawrence Fishburne. He doesn't mince words, and his character is so sort of like emphatic and concrete. Like he's no nonsense, and he's a practical guy, but he says outright, like, I know this was real. There is no bullshitting this. There's no, because Weir tries to explain it away. It's like, it might be gravity-induced hallucinations or something like that. I can't remember. And Weir, like you say, Weir says, no, I felt it. It was warm. It was in front of me. I could feel the heat of this fire.
Which is mad to think, because obviously Weir is also having these visions as well. Yeah. But he's just batting them away. But this is where Weir and Smith have the fight, because Smith just goes, well,
he just loses his rag.
I don't know what I can tell you about this, Captain, but I can say this: this ship is fucked.
This ship is fucked.
So then him and Weir end up having a fight.
He talks a bit like that, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, he's proper. Yeah, Cockney.
Have a banana. Up the apples and pears. This shit, he's fucked. What I like, he goes for him initially, right?
And then he goes back.
Yeah, and then they pull him off, and he's like, calm down, and then he goes again. Just like
this is where, and this is why I think Lawrence Fisher is so good as well. This is where he just fucking puts him on the table and goes, I want you calm and I want you cool.
Yeah,
it's just like, you're gonna go outside and you're gonna fix the Lewis and Clark, and we're gonna get the fuck off this ship. And he's just like, yeah, okay.
And then Jason Clark comes at him with Jason Isaac. I don't want to say Jason Clark. That's
another guy.
Another Australian.
Yes.
Like Sam Neill. But yeah, Jason Isaac comes at him with a scalpel.
He does, yeah. Because even he's starting to like, there's something not right with him. Like mentally, he is a little bit, and it's like he hasn't really had any visions, but I think it's him constantly, because we find out that he's been listening to that audio track more and more and more. And I wonder if the audio track is getting to him, and then he's starting to think to himself, what the fuck is going on in this ship? And it's just like, that's just flipped a switch in him.
Again, not to critique your favourite film, Dan, I'm sorry, and I'm sure you will defend
critique
it.
Away.
It does sort of come out of nowhere. It does remind me a little bit of, the shinning in The Simpsons, when out of nowhere, Homer's like, cable's out, think I'll have a beer. Not a drop in the house. And she's like, Homer, you're taking this surprisingly well. He goes, I'll kill you. I'll kill all of you. He's just like that. He just sort of goes like that out of nowhere. There's no sort of like, you don't really
There's
focus
no build
on.
up to
Jason
it,
Isaac just out of nowhere just grabs the scalpel and goes for his throat. But because you haven't really spent that much time with him as a character, I was watching it the other day. I was like, right, but is that just how he is all the time?
Yes, yeah.
Is he just like a bloke that will pull a knife on you in the middle of a conversation if he doesn't like, or is he getting fucked by the ship? Is he succumbing to the influence?
Weirdly, thinking about it now, I know it's quite funny because like Anderson and Isa said they really didn't want to get the alien comparisons, but he kind of reminds me of the droid in Aliens.
Ash, yes.
Like,
yeah.
The way he is, he's a bit distant. He doesn't really seem human at some points, and then he has this, like you said, like it does feel very, very similar.
I'll kill all of you. Homer just goes, Homer, no! Turn the camera around, you can sleep, and nobody will know. Mr. Simpson, I don't think we're being paid to sleep. Yeah, they're always trying to screw you. That's not the same episode, but it's probably my favourite Homer quote.
I was wondering where that was going.
They're always trying to screw you.
So after that little outbreak between Weir and Smith, they come up with a plan on what to do next. Then Justin disappears from the medical bay. Peters then hears it. She's trying to find him. She starts hearing this banging, bang, bang, bang. She's shitting herself, so she runs to the bridge where everybody else is. And then this banging starts on the door, and the banging's so heavy, and you look at the door, and the door is like fucking foil. It is just there's just something hitting it, and it looks like rubber the way it's being hit. Everyone's shitting their pants. Then Weir's just in the background, sat in this seat, kind of like not really paying attention. And then he's like, "Open the door." Then he stands up, starts walking towards the door. You think if he opens this door, whatever the fuck is on the other side of that door is coming through. And then Stark grabs him by the arm, puts him in some fucking weird arm lock.
Yeah. She out of nowhere, she like Black Widows him, didn't she?
Yes.
I didn't remember that bit.
Yeah, so she puts him in an arm lock, basically saying, "You're not fucking opening that door." And then Stark stops him, and then this is where they find out that Justin has taken himself to an airlock to cast himself into space,
immolate himself, blow himself up.
Yep. Miller is currently out with Smith and Cooper on the Lewis and Clark, looking at repairing the ship or helping repair the ship. They tell Miller what's going on, so he's like, "I'm on my way." So he's outside making his way to the airlock that he's going to come out of. And then Justin, I can't remember exact words he says, but he's basically talking about if you've seen the things I've seen, you'll want to do the same. Presses the button.
He's in a trance, isn't he?
Yeah. Then he presses the button, locks the airlock, and then the alarms happen. Then he comes out of the airlock, and it's actually quite heartbreaking to see, because then he's like, "Mama Bear, let me out." Like he's come out and he is shitting his pants. And the bit where Miller, right, I'm going to tell you a little. This is how you could tell that I was 12 when I watched this, right?
Yep.
So Miller's he's doing this thing where he's like basically going like through like a metal frame tunnel.
Yep.
And he's like, "Justin!" And he's fucking...
That was actually a really spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So he's spilling himself and he's travelling at speed, right?
Yep.
I used to try this in the swimming pool underwater at the weekends.
Yep.
I would be underwater and I'd be going... just pulling myself along the bottom of the sofa
to try and replicate
going through space at speed. Never worked. I probably look like an absolute swat to other people. But yeah, so
apparently, right, the process of decompression, putting a human body into a vacuum like that, is the effects that it has on his body. They're fairly scientifically accurate. I've heard that on the internet. Again, it's one of those things where it might be a Billy bullshitter story. I don't know how much of it is true, but in terms of like as a series of visuals, what it does to his body, like his veins sort of coming to the surface of his flesh and coming under his skin, his eyes starting to bleed. It's really like it's horrible to watch. It's gnarly. And again, Miller gives him some like pretty sound advice, and he says like, make yourself into as tight a ball as possible, push all the oxygen out of your lungs, take a deep breath, expel it all out, because there's less chance of you being violently ripped apart if you've got like as little oxygen in your body as you can. But I don't know how long. I'm not an expert on this. I don't know how long a human body could survive. If at all.
Thought about this, and because they're in Neptune's atmosphere, so I wouldn't say they're in proper outer space, because they're in clouds and stuff like that. So I feel like, because then obviously at that point he's spinning into space, and then Miller pushes himself off, basically kind of like air rugby tackling back into the airlock. And I feel that he would have been able to survive to an extent, just due to the fact that they are not in outer space.
Yeah, I mean, like there are so many films. Like look at bloody Aliens, where Sigourney Weaver is able to withstand the vacuum of space just by holding on.
When Dan said about the rugby tackle, I instantly thought of Princess Leia's
Exactly. There are so many films where people survive the vacuum of space, so we can forgive this one, because it is, like I say, it's gnarly as hell when he goes out.
I think what makes it really hard again as well is that obviously he's not super young, but he's the youngest of the crew members. In that moment, he becomes childlike in terms of like, "Please let me out. What's going on, Mama?" But like, where am I? It makes it harder to watch, knowing that he is petrified, because he knows, and like it's the bit where he goes, "Oh my God, he looks down his arms, like you say, his veins will put. He's like, it's starting, and then he just looks up, and then his whole face, all the veins in his face, just like pop out as it's.
All his orifices are just oozing blood.
Yeah, it's,
I will say, and this is like less a criticism of the film and more just like I find it a bit cringe. I do find the whole "Mama Bear." I find it a bit cringe-worthy. But that's like a realistic thing. People say they have work mums, don't they? There's people at my job that say, "Oh, I have a work mum," and I'm just a bit like, "Grow up." It's just someone that you work with that's a bit older than you, like fucking hell. But yeah, I always found it when I watched it as a kid. I was like, it's a bit cringe, especially considering Jack Noseworthy was probably like 32 when he made this. Just looks a lot younger. I don't know. But yeah, Mama Bear.
So,
he's even more cringe when Lawrence Fishburne says, "I'm coming, baby bear."
Yeah,
that's the Vietnam War hero from Apocalypse Now saying "baby bear" to another grown man. But oh well.
So after that,
he's trying to keep him calm in a stressful situation.
I mean, I'd be trying to do anything I could as well. So everyone starts questioning what's going on. Miller, this is the conversation where Miller and DJ talk about. So Miller talks to him about the Burning Man, and he says, like, "Have you ever seen fire in zero gravity? It's like, it's beautiful. It's like watching waves." And this person that he had to leave behind was getting hit wave after wave of flames. And then DJ then explains that he's deciphered a bit more of the code, or not the code. So he's deciphered a bit more of the audio. Where it basically says that I made a mistake. It's not liberate me. It's liberate tuta me. It's like save yourself from hell.
Yeah.
And then obviously and then Miller's gone like, well, what the fuck are we doing here? You can see it on his face. He's just like drained, emotionally drained. Everything that's happened.
Like I said, right. So there's the thing in Warhammer. And obviously you've got Lovecraft, which is like one of the most famous and most popular Gothic authors ever, right? So this isn't like groundbreaking. It wasn't the first thing to combine science fiction with horror or like cosmic horror or things like that. But it was one of the first things that I saw that did it. It's one of the most sort of mainstream things that I think that has done it. And it does it pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that it doesn't explain quite a lot of it, and it does sort of tap into our fears of otherworldly, cosmic, eldritch sort of stuff. I think it's scarier that they don't give you an actual explanation. They don't say, "Oh, they went to the dimension Quintari 4 in this quadrant of space or whatever that is inhabited by a species of devil worshippers." They don't give you an explanation. They don't say categorically, emphatically, this is the Christian hell or whatever. They just say it's a bit like what we would perceive as hell. But we never really know where it's gone. Also, you don't know how long it's been there for. We perceive it as having been there for 7 years, but they could have been there trapped in that moment for eternity, living. There's a fantastic Stephen King short story, again, that this film, I'm sure it at some point there's been other people that have made this comparison before, but I've never heard people say it directly. There's a short story by Stephen King where a form of teleportation is invented that basically involves it's like cryosleep. Your body gets put you and your body and your consciousness get separated. You get frozen while the transportation happens, so you can go to sleep on Earth and wake up on the moon, for example, and your perception of it is like you've just had like a nap, whereas you've done the like 10-day voyage and you're not really aware of it, right? And it revolutionizes space travel and things like that. But in this short story, if it goes wrong and your consciousness isn't properly sedated, it will feel as though your consciousness has been awake for an eternity.
Oh.
So imagine your body gets put to sleep for like 10-15 days, but your mind has no frame of reference for how long a period of time that is.
Yeah.
So your mind perceives it as having been awake.
You could have lived a lifetime.
Yeah, alone in its own thoughts with nothing, no sort of ability to move yourself or wake up for an eternity. And in this short story, a family does this. They go on holiday to the moon or whatever, and one of the little boys in the family doesn't get put to sleep properly, so his brain ages like a lifetime in the span of 10 days, and when he wakes up he's clinically insane. And this is one of these ideas of like transporting yourself into another dimension, or your consciousness going into another dimension, an area that exists outside of space and time and the laws of physics, and what that would do to you. And it's just horrifying.
It is.
It's really unsettling to think about. And that's what I love about this film, and I think it's why so many people revisit it and stuff. And that's before you even get to the imagery itself. Like that audio that we played is scary enough on its own.
Well, that is the next bit.
Yeah,
What I was
you
going to
see,
say. So then after all that happens there, I think it's Peter's still trying to like kind of clean up the visuals on the video, on the captain's log video, and she kind of gives up, turns it off. Then all of a sudden it just boots back up, and the look on her face, because then you start hearing it again, you see like her face is filled with red from the reflections of the video, and she's like, Stark, look at this. And then everybody, and then the next thing we see is the captain's log footage, which is infamous in horror communities, even film. Everybody knows about this scene. So it's pretty much the crew being absolutely torn apart. There's arms. There's one section where an arm is down a person's throat, and they're ripping out their intestines from their throat. It's
become known as the gorgy scene, and they are getting eviscerated. There is, and we should probably put a content warning at the start of this episode.
Yeah, I think we will.
Start, because there is, and again, how much of it that is shown is like only a fraction of what was filmed.
Yeah.
But there is rape, there is sodomy, there is cannibalism, there's rape that becomes cannibalism, there's dismembering and degloving and things like that, flesh being eviscerated, torn apart, people gouging their own eyes out. It was shot over the course of like 3 days, I think, at Pinewood. At the 007 soundstage before it burnt down. And they employed it was a second unit guy, so they didn't actually.
He didn't direct it.
Anderson wasn't actually present. He just showed up and watched a couple of like the dailies and stuff.
Imagine what the fuck are you been doing? Yeah.
They hired adult film stars. They hired amputees. They hired BDSM and bondage experts who actually work in like dominatrix parlors and things like that. People that were comfortable with doing this sort of stuff on camera. Like I said, I watched this interview with this actress who was like at university at the time, and she said the only she'd done a couple of films before, so she knew somebody that was working on this, and one of the only sort of like requisite requirements was that you had to be comfortable with nudity. So they were doing like full body casts of people. They were doing like inside the mouth casts of people, because there's stuff that was shot where people are getting their teeth pulled out with pliers. I said to you guys off camera, there's a sequence where they had a chap who had a cleft palate that hadn't been surgically is it restored the right word? I don't want to be insensitive, but he had a disfigurement in his mouth, and they utilised him for that shot. Dan was talking about I don't know whether it was on recording or not. There's a shot where a guy is being penetrated through the back of the head with like a metal penis shaped pipe, and it's coming through the front of his mouth and throat, but it's like burst through his nasal cavity, nose, like through his upper jaw and everything. And it's just absolutely insane. Like you say, there's a shot of somebody who's being orally fisted. Like there's a forearm going all the way down someone's throat, and then pulling it. That was used. That shot was where they employed the amputee. Really similar to the shot in The Thing, where the guy plunged his arms into the person's chest. Yeah, it's like they use somebody with like an actual missing arm to do that. And then obviously the finale of the sequence is when the captain puts his own eyeballs in his hands and holds them out in front of him. And he's gouged his own eyes out. But what's the most disturbing about it is he seems happy. Yeah. He's got like a big grin on
smile
his
face. It is.
There's screams, but there's also moans of pleasure. It's bizarre. It looks like half of them are kind of enjoying themselves.
Like you've said before, the scene is short in comparison to what it was before. Yeah. It got I think this is the scene where it originally got an NC-17 rating, which in America very rarely happens. Yeah. I think it was like, so that scene's about what, 30 to 45 seconds long.
Yeah.
I think the other cut is at least 3 minutes. Could you, or so, it's a lot longer. Could you imagine watching that for an extended period of time?
And and like I said, it's drawing on all sorts of different like evangelical artworks of hell. Like I mentioned quite a few times the triptychs of Temptation of Saint Anthony, Last Judgment. Then you got Bruegel's Landscape with the Fall of Icarus, which Tarkovsky had referenced quite a lot of times in his films, which I thought was quite interesting because Anderson says he referenced Tarkovsky. They're both drawing from the same sort of source, but there's all sorts of really twisted, sexual, bizarre imagery in there that's just not very. I mean, rape and acts of like brutal carnality is unsettling anyway, but you put that like doused in blood and cuts and gashes
gore
and
it's
barbed
and
wire
maggots.
and yes, there's maggots
Yeah.
at one point. There's like rotting flesh being eaten and things, and you don't get like any. How long have they been doing this? Why did they start doing this?
Yeah.
Who initiated it? Are they being controlled? Who's filming it and why are they filming it?
Who is filming this?
How long has this gone on for? Is it still happening but in a different dimension that we can't perceive? Like it's
incomprehensible.
yeah.
It's you can't think about what you're seeing. Like you say, you don't know how long it was going on for. We're seeing a 30-second clip, and like they're like little sections here and there. Like what else is going on in the background?
Which leads to arguably the best reaction of all time in any horror film from Lawrence Fishburne. Have you got the soundbite for it?
I haven't
Dan?
got the soundbite where he stops the video and he just goes, "We're leaving."
Yeah. he just the realest thing, the most relatable comment in any horror.
Yeah.
We're leaving. That's it.
And so he gets up and he's like, "Right, this is the plan." And then this audio clip is him telling Weir basically to fuck off.
yeah.
What about my ship? You can't just leave her? I have no intention of leaving her, Doctor. I will take the Lewis and Clark to a safe distance, and then I will launch attack missiles at the event horizon until I'm satisfied she's vaporized. Fuck this ship.
Captain Miller, the bioscan just went off the scale. It looks like the core is draining power from the rest of the ship.
Get the files. Vacate. I want off this ship.
You can't leave. She won't let you.
You just get your gear and get back on the Lewis and Clark, Doctor, or you'll find yourself walking home.
I am home.
Oh, it's so good, man.
I have to laugh a little bit because it does again.
It
It sort of comes out of nowhere. They almost like have a punch up as well, and that sting of the piano, he just turns on and shoves it in. It's just like
Weir puts his hand on him, and then
Yeah.
Miller turns around and just like, you want to start this? This is where we're going with it.
since when was he evil? That's what I was. It was like he just sort of comes out of nowhere. But it's a great, it's real like cheesy evil performance in it. Like his voice is.
But it's the fuck this shit. That whole this is the most realist captain.
Yeah, the most relatable,
of
real.
the
Like,
most
that's what you would do if you were in this situation. Reminds me again my like 5th or 6th comparison to Aliens, but when shit hits the fan in that film and Michael Biehn just says, "I say we take off and nuke the site from orbit." Like the same. That's what you do if you
You run the other way.
and blow
Yeah.
it the fuck up until there's not a shred of anything remaining.
Yeah, every kind of horror trope that you think of, like you hear a bang upstairs. Why on earth would you then go and investigate?
Yeah, with the lights
Captain
off.
Miller is doing the complete opposite.
Yeah.
He is literally going, we're leaving. Why on earth would we stay here? And he's like, if it wasn't for the Lewis and Clark gameplay, like you say, they would have been gone after the first fucking Vision.
Yeah,
They would have been like after Justin, they would have just gone. So after the famous "I'm home" line, so Peters and Smith are then collecting. They're like collecting is it carbon dioxide supplies, or they're getting supplies?
they're getting the running clock that was introduced earlier. The Lewis and Clark has 20 hours of oxygen, and they realise that the Event Horizon has oxygen stores that are in like these big long tubes. So they're trying to collect as many as possible to make the journey home.
So they're gathering them from the gravity drive chamber room, and then Peters gets distracted. She sees basically who she thinks is her son on the ship running away, So she chases him down all these corridors, kind of loses her orientation a bit in where she is. And then she sees him. She walks over to go give him a hug and then doesn't realize where she is and just falls God knows how many feet to her death. Possibly the biggest explosion of blood I've seen from someone falling onto a grate. It's like
horrendous. Yeah,
It's
You
like
feel it though, the impact.
thud.
Of,
Yeah. So she unfortunately perishes. And then Weir enters the gravity drive room and finds Peters, and he's like, oh my God, what's gone on? And then he has another vision, and this is where we find that Weir's wife has killed herself, which again, apparently there was another cut of this. So basically he's like telling her, don't do this, but she doesn't know he's there because it's just a vision, which obviously the ship is showing him. And then she basically puts herself in the bar and cuts her wrists. Apparently there is a more graphic version of that scene as well. It seems that quite a lot of the graphic gore was kind of taken out from early test shows and stuff like that.
The original cut of the film was like 130 minutes.
Oh, so it's like 40 minutes worth of cuts.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this in our closing bit once we've gone through the plot. Famously, none of the cut footage was sort of preserved properly.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has been unfortunately lost. Comic-Con in 2012 or 2013, Anderson said that they found a VHS tape. So with footage on it now. Obviously that's going to be terrible quality. It's not going to be like from the original negatives or whatever. But there was talks that they were going to try and restore this VHS footage to make an extended cut of the film. Obviously that hasn't happened, and that was like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I'd still be intrigued to see it.
Yes. Yeah.
But now we're in the end game. This is where shit has hit the fan. Weir has fully turned evil.
Yep. So after he's like, so his wife, and then kills her, and then she's like, he turns around, she's standing up, but her eyes are closed, and they start embracing, and then her eyes are missing, and then she looks at him, and she starts gouging his eyes out. But in reality, he's doing it to himself. So what he's doing to himself is kind of what the previous captain of the Event Horizon did at the end of the Gorgie video.
A lot of repeating imagery around eyes, like we were saying earlier. The design of the corridor connecting the two halves is shaped like an eye. There's like that reoccurring motif of the gravity drive reflected in their pupils. That shot that you got a 4K screen grab of it for the Instagram post, where you can see all of the rings of the thing reflected in his eye, and then obviously multiple characters appear without eyes. Like you say, his wife. We never actually see her with her normal eyes. She's always got this like.
The only time we see her is this scene where she's killing herself.
Yep, and then as you said, the captain and then Weir, they both gouge their eyes out.
Yeah, and the sound is horrible as well. It's like a proper, like you can hear the fingers sink in. So then after, so he does it himself. Weir then goes and places a bomb on the Lewis and Clark. And Miller is warning Smith, who's on it, and he's like, Smith is like, I'll just put this shit back together. And then he's frantically trying to find this bomb. Cooper's still on the outside of the Lewis and Clark. And then he's frantically trying to find it. He then finds it with a big smile on his face, opens it up, finds the bomb, and there's like 5 seconds till it blows up, and he just starts crying, right?
The moment of self-realization, like when he's like, it's so... I have to confess, I really don't like his character in this film. I find him,
Smith?
Yeah, I find him a bit of a twat, and he's it's quite satisfying when I watch him get blown up. I do like Sean Pertwee. Did any of you guys watch, a bit of a left field tangent, but any of you guys watch the Gotham TV show?
No, I did not know.
The first season.
Yeah, because he plays the Alfred character in that, and it's a completely different. Obviously, Michael Caine does a bit of the more Cockney relatable. But this is like a proper, like
upper class butler.
No, like a proper Cockney, like brick top, a Falklands veteran. Don't trust the RGs. Master Wayne, get your bloody arse down here now. Like that's genuinely how he talks, and he's basically like the Smitty character in this.
Oh, okay.
But as like a grizzled Alfred.
Yes.
Because obviously in some of the comic books they kind of explain that Alfred is he's like a combat vet. And that's where he's one of the first people to teach Bruce like self-defense and shit. And I always kind of didn't believe that, especially when you watch the Tim Burton films. Alfred's like this lovable old granddad, and it's like there's no way he's a bare knuckle fighter.
Yeah.
But Sean Pertwee as Alfred, like definitely, you can believe that guy was in East London filling somebody in around the back of a chip shop. But anyway, sorry, that was my tangent.
So then the Lewis and Clark blows up, killing Smithy, and sending Cooper out into space into some wreckage, where Cooper manages to survive by making his way back to the ship using his air as jet propulsion. And this was a clip that I think Ollie requested again. Was it you? I'm not sure. Or I might have just done it because it's just a great scene.
It's a quote that almost everybody knows. It's a really memorable moment from this film.
Shit! Where the fuck am I going? Why is this shit gonna happen to me? Fuck. Alright, think. Alright, I gotta get back to the ship. Alright? I gotta blow my air tank. I'll blow my air tank. Alright, fuck. Oh, this better work. This shit better work. Alright, here I go. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Come on, yes! Here I come, motherfucker!
It's so good.
It's a bit tonally jarring, considering we've had, like, by this point, loads of imagery of, like, people getting anally raped with barbed wire and stuff, to then have somebody, like, but it is funny.
You need comic relief with that, because if you don't have anything, it's just a bleak film.
And it kind of is an answer to my comment earlier. It shows that he's quite a resourceful person that can think on the spot.
Yeah.
I was saying, like, how the fuck are these guys search and rescue? But he manages to find a way back onto the ship.
Yeah. Especially because, I don't know if it was because of the, like you say, the CGI, but he looks like he's fucking miles away. You can't even see the event horizon when he goes back to it. So he is taking a risk in doing, well, I say taking a risk, he either does that or he dies by floating out into space anyway.
And not to overanalyze a bit that completely is like a throwaway scene, but like we do talk for hours, so it's pretty on brand of me. I think the idea of being jettisoned out into space, where you are going to, unless you collide with something, you're going to continue going forever. I think that is almost, in a way, a more horrific fate than getting split up. I'd rather, at least if you're going to like die on the event horizon, it's going to be quick. You might get your throat slashed or your head bashed in. Well, you don't know, but I mean, compared to like, who's the woman that falls and gets crushed?
Peters.
I'd rather die like that than be starving to death in space, like dehydrating, just flying out with nothing.
But then is your soul trapped on the ship and you are tortured forever, Ollie?
Exactly. Yeah, we really.
That's what we don't know.
This is like a classic, like a ghost ship story, really, isn't it? If you think about, I was talking about The Fog in our last episode, and I love how that is like ghost pirates and a ghost ship that can never make port or whatever. This idea, but just like in space rather than on the high seas.
So we're kind of getting towards the climax of the film now. So Miller then warns DJ that Weir is on the warpath, and TJ's like, he's like getting all his implements, like, well, that's not big enough. And then he gets like a big fucking saw knife, and he's like, oh, you don't. He needs to worry about me. Turns around, and then Weir just grabs him by the throat, and his eyes. He looks at him, and then you get a full on shot of just his eyeless face and his cuts all over his face that he's created himself. He starts throwing him over benches and that, and then he basically knocks him out. And this is a horrible scene as well. So basically he guts DJ. So Weir then cuts open DJ's stomach, which you see all off screen. This kind of, and then you just hear him gagging on his own blood, and then you're hearing all this sloshing about, and then you see Weir's hand like grab a needle and thread, and then Miller runs to medical to find, and the imagery on this is horrible as well, but so Miller runs to find DJ has been absolutely gutted like a fish, and his naked body hung up by hooks, looking down on his guts on the table.
He's been splayed open. It reminds me of the in the Silence of the Lambs, when what Hannibal does to the prison guards, and then also again like the Clive Barker imagery at the end of the first Hellraiser when Robertson gets like splayed with all the chains, the hooks, and his face is being that is Scorpion. What's his name? Is it Andrew Andrew Robinson. Yeah, sorry.
So it's, and the image, like, even like when you're looking at this, is very, again, gothic. He put some like kind of weird. He's used his blood to put like weird, looks like devilish incantations on the windows around him, and it's a very odd scene, and they linger on it for a long time.
Yeah,
it's not just something you see it from far back. You see it all the way back where it looks like he's been crucified, basically, but his skin it's the skin pulls of the hooks that he's on, and then Miller runs up to him, and then you basically see it from Miller's perspective where you see everything. He's basically emptied him. He's hollow. He's like taken so much out of him.
The Silence of the Lambs. My last tangent for the episode that I go on, you can hold me to this. You've just reminded me. You did the quote from Hellraiser. That has got to be one of the most evil motherfuckers in cinema history, because not only is he about to die, but he licks his lips.
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
And he's smiling, and he licks it.
Yeah, I spoke about in our anniversaries episode, Christopher Walken as Zorin, when he's about to die and he just starts laughing when he's hanging onto the bridge and he goes, and then let's same sort of thing. I love characters that are just so evil that even when they're about to, they're either too stubborn to die, or they just start laughing or mocking you when they're about to die.
So kind of to show that
they don't give it. Andrew Robinson licking his lips as his face is being pulled apart.
He's a horrible character.
Yeah,
in that
he
is. So then after seeing this, Miller then basically decides that he's going to kill Weir himself. And I love this bit because he gets basically like it's kind of like a big fuck off bolt gun.
Yes,
for
yeah.
And he goes, "You never want to leave this ship, Weir? Then you never will." You did. I was about to say he like spins it and then slaps it like he's slapping an ass. It's like,
it's like he's whacking the chamber to a revolver back into the. It's like this massive, like you say,
fucking bolt gun. Yeah. He's like, you would get pinned no matter what, because it's the gun they use to repair the Lewis, and that same type of gun. So as he's walking around the ship, he's looking for Weir. It's all dark. There are no lights on. Then he finds Stark is unconscious. Excuse me. He finds Stark unconscious on the floor. He then reaches back to get the gun, but it's disappeared. And then he's looking around, and then basically Weir is in the captain's chair. How the fuck he got the gun, I don't know, because it is literally right next to him. But we'll ignore that. And in this, and then basically he sees Weir for the first time in his new form, you could say. This is
the Weir Beast.
The Weir Beast. Oh, again, where did the Weir Beast come from again? Did you say it was on a subreddit or something?
Yeah, I just saw it online this morning when I was reading about it at work. People have dubbed that the Weir Beast.
Yeah,
and he's like wearing a skull. He's got no hair.
Oh no!
Wait,
this is
stages. Sorry. So he's like halfway through the transformation.
And this is the explanation he gives, and I didn't think it would be me doing it would be justice, so I thought I'd leave up to the great Sam Neill himself.
Oh my God! What happened to your eyes?
Where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
What are you talking about?
I created the event horizon to reach the stars. But she's gone much, much farther than that. She tore a hole in our universe, the gateway to another dimension. A dimension of pure chaos. Pure evil. When she crossed over, she was just a ship. But when she came back, she was alive. Look at her, Miller. Isn't she beautiful?
Your beautiful ship killed its crew, Doctor.
Well, now she has another crew. Now she has us.
What do you think you're doing, Doctor?
You wanted to know where the ship has been? Now you'll find out.
The thunder in the background makes that so much scarier. Oh.
I really, John. Some of Sam Neill's like evil acting, we'll call it, the transformations of the weird beast acting is a bit, I don't know how to put it,
Bit hammy.
a bit theatrical.
Yeah.
But the way he can change the tone of his voice is really good at it. Like the way he's just like, he goes to these like low bits, like I really like the way he does it, but it is a little bit theatrical. But at the same time, the way he has gone and how mad he is, it's kind of fitting. But yeah, I do feel like it is a little bit theatrical at some points.
I just love, I know I've said this so many times, I just love the whole, it's so mysterious, the cosmic horror of it all, like not knowing where it's gone. And if you think about it, this is what's the word for the phobia of space? There's a
I can
so thalassophobia is a fear of particularly like the ocean and the unexplored areas of the ocean. There is like, we are in the next however many decades or centuries, we are going to start to explore space a lot more, and there is a real unnerving, disquieting prospect to outer space, and this film taps into all of that for me, and in a way that quite a lot of other horror films don't. There are some fantastic horror films that are set in space, like Alien and stuff, but they are based around a very rigid set of rules, and there is like a mechanics to everything, and we know the terms, we know how it works. It sort of follows a structure, but this really sort of taps into,
it lets loose.
Like I say, this Lovecraftian, unknowable, cosmic, ethereal, eldritch horror. This idea that it could be an ancient horror. This like idea that the presence that is on the event horizon could have existed for billions of years before the human race, could have even existed before the beginning of the universe, and we've unknowingly tapped into it and brought it back. It's just gross and scary to think about. And it just, do you guys not have the same thought process?
I completely agree. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
It's drawn me back to this film over the years, and millions of other fans.
It's the unknown. Yeah, and it's the whole the whole leave them wanting more.
Yeah,
you still want to know what really happened to the crew. Where did it actually go? But it's never answered. So you're constantly revisiting because you're constantly trying to work out or figure out yourself those questions.
I really longed that bit, but but I just this whole, it is one of the best sort of adaptations of Lovecraft, and yet it's not it's not
a Lovecraftian.
It's not an actual Lovecraft film. It's not dealing with any of the Lovecraft mythos, but in terms of capturing, for me at least, some of his work, some of the best elements of why those books are scary and why that mythos is so unnerving. This film taps into it really well.
So after the speech by where Cooper ends up appearing at the window.
Yes, he does. He does.
This causes Weir to shoot at the window, obviously not realizing what he's doing. Doesn't kill Cooper, but then causes a vacuum, to which Dr. Weir ends up getting sucked out into space. And then everybody else, and then Miller and Stark end up clawing themselves back out into another room. The doors close behind, and then they think that Weir's coming back in through the air chamber, but it's actually Cooper. So then there are currently four surviving members at the moment.
The design of that windscreen, totally impractical and stupid. but it like so many of these films, so many things in this film, totally impractical, doesn't really make sense, but it looks cool.
Yeah,
it's an upside down crucifix. It's just looks cool.
So then Stark and Cooper take Justin to the front of the ship, where like the bridge and the medical bay and all that is, whilst Miller goes down the corridor, loading up all the bombs that line up along the corridor. At the beginning, we're told that basically these bombs can destroy the corridor, creating what they call a lifeboat away from the gravity drive. And then so Miller gets to the other end. He ends up being confronted by the Burning Man again, and is kind of shifted back into the gravity chamber because he's like flame throwing at him, and he gets trapped in there, and then the whole gravity chamber starts filling with flames, and he basically says to Miller, "You left me behind," and he's like, "No, you've been dead for years." And then turns out the Burning Man is actually the full-on final form of the Werebeast, and he is a terrifying-looking man. He has no clothes on. He is bald. He has his eyes back, but the cuts all over his body seem to be more kind of how to describe? They're not planned, but
they're symmetrical, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks almost like the vivisections on on Pinhead.
Yeah, they're like they've got
Cenobites.
purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's been designed. There's like a geometry to them. He's like completely hairless. I don't know. Does he have a genitalia? Do you see?
I think he does. I don't think you see it, but he is stark bollock naked.
It's almost scarier to imagine that he's like it's been chopped off or whatever, or it's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like he's just become this sexless like thing. This just vessel of just
getting the pleasure out of pain,
the manifestation of everything that's evil in the ship, and he's just this bald, horrific. The cuts are deep as well. When you look at their like deep lacerations,
they're not like little scratches. They are full on. He's been sliced,
and then they have a big old punch up.
Well, before that,
sorry, yes,
they you're not too far, but they have another conversation between the both, and this is that conversation.
We're the ship brought me back. I told you she won't let me leave. She won't let anyone leave. Did you really think you could destroy this ship? She's defied space and time. She's been to a place you couldn't possibly imagine. And now, it is time to go back.
I know. To hell.
You know nothing. Hell is only a word. The reality is much, much worse. Let me show you.
Oh, chill. Like there are some cracking lines in this film. Hell is just a word. The reality is much, much worse. It's pretty much him saying it isn't hell, but if that's what you want to call it, I'll show you what it is, kind of thing. And then after that that's when they have the big fight. He fights him off, and he ends up blowing up the ship.
That's where you get shades of the like the Mortal Kombat and AVP Anderson, like it ending in a punch up. Not many horror films. It's quite like I was saying, like it fits the characterization really. He's like a practical, maybe ex-military guy.
Yeah,
it's like I'll fucking punch him. this horrific demon thing in front of me. I'll just grab this metal pipe and beat the shit out of him with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not taking my crew.
Yeah.
So when he says, now let me show you, he basically puts his hand on top of his head and shows him visions of his crew being tortured.
Yep.
And that's where you see more of the kind of the image. Like I for some reason when I was doing these sound bites, I paused it on one of the sections, and one of the sections was basically a topless woman who had been bound with her hands bound behind her back. Her face had been like absolutely destroyed, and there's just maggots all over her.
She'd been hogtied, isn't she?
Yes.
I think this is the woman that I saw interviewed because she said that she'd been tied up like that for one of the bits. But
I didn't mean to pause it, but I paused on that, and I was thinking, because I've never really paused those sections to see what actually it is I'm looking at. But I paused on that, I was like, flip, like Jesus Christ. And basically that was the whole gravity drive was a torture chamber for all the crew members. So you've got Justin being impaled in the center of the room, and he's like being spun around. You've got Stark being tied up by barbed wire. It's just, again, it's ending on what would for Miller is quite a bleak note.
Yeah.
So yeah, he ends up blowing up the ship.
He sacrifices himself.
Yep. Weir's going, no. His arms are out. Weir's like kind of like gutted that it's all ending. And then Cooper, Stark, and Justin float away into space. They then go on.
I was gonna say this used to annoy me when I was younger. It upset me that Miller died. I felt like, considering how much he'd gone through and considering that he's quite a relatable, practical main character, I wanted him to make it out alive. You think that like, he deserves to survive after everything that he's gone through, but it's a shame that he dies. It's nuts to think that Justin survives, considering the amount of shit that he goes through, being sent out into the vacuum of space, being put into a coma,
seeing what only possibly could be described as the worst thing any human will ever see ever in terms of the dimension he possibly went to.
Yep.
But I kind of see the Miller sacrificing himself is him giving himself redemption for that man that has guilted him for the whole of his life.
Yeah.
He has sacrificed himself in a burning chamber, where it's kind of the parallels, kind of you can see why maybe they went down that route with that character. I was with you. I was gutted that he was gone, that he ends up dying. So they end up floating in space, and then they get woken up by the rescue team. And Stark comes out of her cryo chamber. She's like shaking, and the rescue team are like, it's okay. They're with us. And then the helmet lifts up, and it's the Weir Beast in the get up, and she starts freaking out, but we don't know if it was him or not. But Cooper doesn't see him. Cooper just is trying to calm her down, and then the doors close, and the film ends.
That shot for me of him in the rescue gear when he flips the face visor up, that's the scariest that he is. That he appears in the movie for me. Sorry, I butchered the way I said that. That is when he appears at his most scariest for me.
Okay.
There's just something about it. I think
is it because he's in like what you would deem as normal clothing?
Yeah,
and then you lift this up, and you don't expect to see someone looking like that.
And he's just like smiling as well, and it's just it's really it's gross. But yeah, that's the end.
I'm gonna watch it again.
Yeah, I probably will watch it this weekend. I'd be interested to see what the 4K is like, because I don't actually have it. So I might pick it up.
Well, if you want, because you're gonna have to take a Instagram photo, you can borrow the. Oh no, I'll have.
You'll have to go get it from Dan.
Yeah, because I went to give it to Charlie and I forgot it was still in my player, so we had to watch just the Blu-ray.
Oh no. Well, we have some numbers, because it wasn't a particularly popular film in terms of like the critics and the money. It only grossed 42 million globally on a budget of 60 million, which is not great, especially for a big Paramount film with some great names in it. You'd think it would have done a bit better, but there is a precedence for this, like these sorts of horror films releasing maybe at the wrong time or going up against more popular films. I spoke about The Thing earlier. There are so many films that you just always think as being like beloved, but they didn't do well at the time. This is one of those. I've got some more specific breakdowns. So these are only domestic figures. Unfortunately, I don't have the global ones, but these are some rankings as of where it's appeared as of March of last year. So in terms of live action films, it ranks 2,872nd on the North American box office. So just under 3,000. If you think about how many films there are in existence, that's fairly high. It's not the highest, but it's fairly high. In terms of sci-fi films, it's 319th. So again, you think about how many Star Wars, Star Trek, Blade Runner, all those sorts of things. 319th. In terms of horror films, it is 248th. In terms of R-rated movies, it's 1,099.
Wow.
And then for Paramount, it was their 361st ranked performing film. So that's quite low for a studio. But then the one that is arguably the most important figure, in Blu-ray sales, it has made over $1.4 million in North America in Blu-ray. That's where it's had its sort of like
its resurrection.
Yeah, its second life. It's a cult favorite. I referenced that sort of Family Guy bit, which I'm going to show you, where Chris and Carl are talking about it in the convenience store. But like, it is one of those films that like people of our generation, they love it. People talk about it online. it's held in the same, almost in the same regard as things like classic Carpenter and stuff like
Yeah.
that. People
Mhm.
love to talk about it. I spoke about it at work with a couple of people who are in the same sort of age range as us, like between 25, 35, and they were like, "Yeah, I love it. It's great. I really enjoy it." It's one of those films that, like, I've always, when I've been out and about the shops, you always see it in places like your HMVs, Virgin Media Stores, CEX, cash converters. It's like a staple of DVD collections, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think even just I've said before, people know the name. The name of the film stands out.
Yeah.
Event Horizon stands out as a film. The majority of people, I feel like, if you say, "Have you heard of the film Event Horizon?"
Yep.
they would say yeah, because I feel like the name sticks out.
And it's one of those like infamous things. It's a bit late to be part of the video nasties boom, but people talk about it in the same sort of like, in this country, things like Hellraiser and Evil Dead were infamous because obviously Thatcher and the Tories banned them. There was like a big crackdown on video obscenities and things like that. So those sort of, to a certain generation, Hellraiser, Evil Dead, the Sam Raimi sort of stuff is held up as being these really, really disturbing, twisted films. They're quite quaint by today's standard.
Yeah.
They're still scary, but they're, compared to some of the gore that you've seen
The
in
violence,
yeah, exactly. They're quite quaint. I think Event Horizon to some people is in the same thing, because the gorgy sequences were so twisted, it became infamous.
Yeah.
Which is wild when you think, like we've said quite a few times, there's only like 30 seconds worth of footage
Yeah.
and audio in the film.
Yeah. But it's enough to leave you thinking that is...
that is horrific.
Yeah. There's nothing really I can think of on film or in a film that has that specific type of sequence, that has 30 seconds, and that's what people remember because it is so vivid and so sticks in your mind.
Yep.
It's it's maddening. But I stand by the fact that I hope that the people of 1997 that didn't go watch this film are happy with themselves, and that they have let down a film, but we are bringing it back to the glory that it deserves. Just quickly, I think I mentioned this to you both last week, that there is a preview comic book based on the Event Horizon called Dark Descent, which is going to be, I think it's only 5 issues, but it's telling the story of the original Event Horizon crew and what happened to them. There is also, apparently there is supposed to be an Event Horizon TV series directed by Adam Wingard of Godzilla. Whether that's still happening or not, I'm not too sure. But and I don't know if it's gonna be a sequel kind of story or a redo of the original film. I'm not too sure, but that's apparently still in the works. Yeah, that's the future of Event Horizon at the moment.
One of the things we haven't really spoken about, we've spoken about the art design, right, and the design of things and visuals. We haven't really spoken about the execution of them and like the visual effects. Almost all of the practical and miniature effects were actually done here in the UK.
Yeah,
which is, I think, pretty cool, and we should be proud of that.
That was because the US studios had no space. Like, there was literally in the whole of the US, there was no space, so they ended up going to Pinewood, which down the road pretty much for us.
Yep.
And what was it? They had 7 sound stages to do it. They built the corridor. They built
a lot of full size sets.
And I think they said the 007 sound stage that they used
Yep.
still wasn't big enough for some of the sets that they were trying to build.
That's crazy. I mean, I know that Anderson hired Richard Urisic, who is a visual effects artist that worked on Close Encounters 2001, and then Star Trek with Douglas Trumbull. It's like my third reference to Star Trek. But again, I got shades of that when I was watching it. I know you guys aren't massively into Star Trek, but this feels like there are certainly darker episodes of like Deep Space Nine and Voyager and stuff, and even of the original series in TNG. There is like elements of Star Trek that do deal with some more cosmic horror-y stuff, but just the idea of a crew going out into space and happening upon something and putting it together, and as I said, the more procedural elements of it, like how the ship's crew work and everybody having their own roles and stuff, it did remind me of Star Trek. So there's a bit of like the sharing of DNA, because the main visual effects guy worked on the motion picture. And then obviously, as I said, Paramount was apparently scared of this tarnishing the Star Trek brand. So somebody else somewhere saw the same sort of connection, the weird connection that I'm seeing. But yeah, he also got through Clive Barker. Anderson was recommended Bob Keane for the makeup effects. So I said about how the shot of DJ being flayed and spliced open and everything reminded me of Andrew Robertson at the end of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Again, there's like a DNA being shared there because it's literally the guy that did the makeup for the ending of Hellraiser did some of the prosthetic stuff here. But yeah, some great practical and miniature effects in this film.
Yeah.
The CGI is the only stuff that doesn't really hold up for me.
Yeah.
The opening sequence where you've got all the debris and the ice floating.
Oh, like the bottles and spanners and
I
stuff.
don't think that works. But again, when you consider that the post-production was so rushed, like you can kind of forgive it, can't you?
Yeah, when you think about the practical effects, when you think about Dr. Weir's the makeup for Dr. Weir's in version 1 and version 2 of Dr. Weir.
Yeah.
They look extremely realistic.
Yeah.
The death of Peters where she falls down, again, extremely realistic, practical effect. Even like you could say possibly there's no way they could have done Justin's veins popping. I don't know how they would have done that, but even that, I think the strobe light and that kind of helps the special effects in that in some way as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the actual practical side of the thing, I can't really fault it, to be honest.
No. I mean, before we start to wrap up, can I just ask you one more time to play the initial, the jump scare where Sam Neill does the monotone scream, because it gets me every time. I love it.
Really? So cold. I'm waiting.
Oh dear. Can I then, in that case, can I replay Miller's "Fuck me"? I find really satisfying as well is the way he says, "This place is a tomb."
Yeah.
I'm in medical.
His voice, he's just got such a unique voice, isn't he?
Place looks like it's never been used.
You still haven't seen any crew?
If we saw any crew, Doctor, you'd know it by now. Scanning for life readings. This place is a tomb. Oh, fuck me!
Miller, are you okay?
When I was doing my rewatch, I messaged you, didn't I, about sound design. For
You
this.
did, yes, yeah.
Because in that scene there, I was like, I had the lights off, I had the curtains drawn. It was quite light outside, but I still had like quite darkness in here. And in that scene, the pulses from the scanner pulses on left and right.
Oh, nice.
But only left and right.
Yeah.
And it freaked me out.
You said as well, like you could hear the voice, like was it Claire's voices when she's
Claire's
like,
voices
which
rocket between the two, from the sub to left and right.
That's great.
And like, oh man, it just adds another dimension to an already terrifying film.
Yeah. I mean, going back to Lawrence Fishburne's voice, I'm surprised that people haven't utilised his voice a bit more, because he's almost got like a James Earl Jones quality to it, and I know that he a massively underrated performance is when he does the Silver Surfer.
Yeah. Oh no,
he adds so much gravitas.
He is
to
the
that.
best part of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
That voice acting in that is sensational.
And as much as I've said before that I'm a huge apologist for the Zack Snyder Superman stuff, I do think he was underused as Perry White. I could see him as being like the Jor-El, like the Darth Vader, like the father character, because he has such a, like I say, he's got the Mufasa quality to his voice. But he's great in this film. I can't really imagine anybody else in that.
No?
And as I said before, it's not like earth-shatteringly progressive, but for 1997, having a black guy as the lead to your high-concept horror film, it's quite different. I can't think of many others that.
I think when it came to casting, especially the main two, Anderson said that for Weir, he always wanted Sam Neill after seeing him Jurassic Park, mainly for his facial expression acting. So when he first sees the dinosaur and you don't see the dinosaur first, you see his reaction to it.
Yeah.
That's what made him want Sam Neill as Dr. Weir, for that kind of face acting. And then he, for Lawrence Fishburne, at the time, apparently, I'm not too sure what roles it was, but at the time, he was constantly being typecasted as a kind of villainous or a nasty character at the time. So he was like rejected. So like he rejected Pulp Fiction because of the character that they wanted him to play was similar to.
Was it Ving Rhames' character?
So when he got when he was asked about playing Miller, he jumped at it due to the fact that he's playing a heroic character, which he was very rarely given a chance at the time, and also because I think Anderson said he just loved how commanding he could be in some of the other films that he's seen him in, that he has that commanding presence, which is what he wanted for Captain Miller. So I think they were both cast perfectly. Like you, I don't think I can think of anybody else that could do those two roles.
I don't really think I have anything else to say. I think I've exhausted this. Would you believe it?
What about you, Charles?
I will say that I didn't write a scene for this.
Yes.
But I do have one wish.
Go on.
In the Gorgie scene, I wish it would have panned at some point to Sam Neill.
Oh.
Because at the end he says, it brought me back.
Okay.
But I don't know how that would work.
So
through the.
So I had a thought for a scene. My scene was that it was going to be back on Earth and then all of a sudden, just the gravity drive section of the ship appears in Earth's orbit.
Mm.
And they're like, what the fuck is that? So then they send a crew up to investigate it, and then it just disappears again, as if it's like collecting more souls.
This is I had the exact same thought process, right? Because I've made so many sort of comparisons to Alien and The Thing, but one of the two things I absolutely love about those films is not only have you got the immediate threat of you want the characters to survive, you want Sigourney Weaver and Kurt Russell to live, but there is this sort of, in the background, this anxiety. If those creatures make their way to civilization, Earth is fucked.
Yeah.
And they say that in Alien, she says like we can't take this back to Earth.
Yeah.
And that's why she kills herself in the third one. And then you have the absolutely fantastic, I know it's quite quaint because obviously that's how computers work in real life, but in The Thing you've got who's the very large man who had diabetes? Can't remember his name. Fantastic actor, big old mustache. You know the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I know you're thinking of.
I'll kill you.
Yeah.
He sits there and he watches the simulation, and it says if the thing reaches a civilized area, the total assimilation of planet Earth will take place within like.
It's like a month or something like that.
It's like a short 1,000 hours from first contact. Earth will be completely taken over. You imagine what would happen if this thing managed to find its way back to Earth.
Yeah.
If the Event Horizon ship just appeared in orbit, nobody on planet Earth is going to know what's happened. And by the time someone's got on board the ship, planet Earth is going to be fucked because you're going to unleash whatever cosmic eldritch horror
force,
is going to make its way back to Earth. And I like the idea of like my missing scene when I was thinking about it would have been Earthbound in some way. I don't know what I would have written. I don't know whether it would have been like the same sort of thing. And ultimately, you don't want it to get to Earth because then everything that they've gone through is going to be for nothing.
Yeah.
But like I had the same thought process as you. Like, what would be the implications of this ship coming back to Earth? And I ultimately thought, when I was a kid watching it, I thought that's what the ship wanted. And that it was trying to turn Weir because it knows Weir is the only way it can get. It ultimately wants more souls, doesn't it? It wants it to be fed, and it feeds off of suffering or whatever. And the only place in the universe that has more life is Earth.
Yeah. I did see a cool take on a different perspective. Was something along the lines of, what if we knew about or they found out about kind of where it went or what it had done, but it knew it went to another dimension, and that he was trying to use he was basically using the event horizon to try and get his wife, because he knew his wife committed suicide, and he was going to go to hell to try and rescue her soul.
Yep.
Something along those lines. I was like, that's a pretty interesting take.
Yeah.
And my like Sam Neill already kind of being on the ship originally and then coming back to it is Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah. What's the name? Comes like, yes. Yeah.
So,
and I mean,
if you want Event Horizon, just sit on a boat where the guy just wants Ghost Ship.
Well, the most glaring comparison that we haven't really spoken about is The Shining. So the whole thing there has Jack Torrance always been the caretaker, or is he? Is it a cyclical? Repeating cycle, or is it that we've just sort of got one glimpse of? Because obviously it ends with that shot of him in the overlook, the ballroom. Wilford Brimley is the. It's just come to the great.
I love when the song just clicks.
I'm Wilford Brimley and I have diabetes. Because he was a representative of like the American Diabetes Association or whatever. But yeah, he's
kill you.
You know the.
Yeah, I know exactly.
It's great. And then he just comes at him with the axe.
Yes. And then they just fucking lay into him and knock him out, didn't they? Then
I love the bit where they go to check on him later in the. We're going to do a Carpenter episode. We've got to do a thing where they go check on him later, and they open the slot to the window, and he goes, I'm all better now. I'd like to come back inside. But then over his shoulder, he's got a noose hanging down, so he's like gone to hang himself. I'm all better now. I'd like to come back inside now.
Talking about the Shining as well. That to decompress from watching it, I watched the my favourite Key and Peele sketch of all time,
the Continental Breakfast
from
the Forbidden Fruit.
A tiny plum.
It's continental then. Do you know what my favourite sketch is? And it reminds me of us when we are doing these episodes where they're talking about the Dark Knight. And
yes, awkward. Yeah.
Okay. And he goes, "No, that's not a reaction. You look at me. You say something, and he's just weird."
I know exactly what one you mean.
Yeah, that's a great sketch.
Right. I can't believe I say this. I'm Event Horizoned out.
Yeah.
I've scratched an itch that has been. At me.
I don't want to be presumptuous because I've got nobody can see our setup right now. The monitor is turned away from me.
Yes, it is.
I think we might have the longest Event Horizon content on the internet.
You reckon?
I can see the clock without a doubt.
Like when I was doing my
what
research,
do you think we're
at? 2 hours 15.
2 hours, 28 minutes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got to edit this down, but this will end up being. It could
Probably
be
the
longest Event Horizon discussion on the internet.
Yeah.
And also our longest episode yet as well. Set the record for our longest episode, beating American Psycho.
Oof.
It was worth it. Right, so just a couple of plugs. We are on Instagram at The Missing Scene Pod. We are on X at Missing Scene Pod. We are on Letterboxd as
OJB, all caps, no spaces.
Westwood Sea.
Daniel Jeeves. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music every Friday. So you have us for the weekend. Please, if you know anybody else that is interested in films, let them know about us. Get them to follow us on Instagram. Listen to us, and every little bit helps. It's just
a mate at work, somebody down the pub, somebody you go to the gym with. If they're even like passingly interested in movies, just chuck them our handle. It's really shameless of us to say that, but
we try. Well, like we said before, we're trying to build like a community of fans, and
exactly.
At the end of the day, what we're doing is something that we love doing, and I feel like if everybody else is interested, then have a good time with us.
And if anybody gets any enjoyment out of this, then that's a benefit.
Right. Is that everything, boys?
That's everything. Yeah.
Could we give a little tease as to what episode 20 is going to be?
Episode 20 is Mad Max Fury Road 10th anniversary, I believe. I always say this. I always should
I think
come.
it is. Yeah.
I should always come prepared with
the
what the
thing.
next episode
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
It's either that or it's or at some point there is we're going to look back at the year 2019 and look back at the films before. This is basically a review of 2019, which is the year before COVID went and destroyed all of cinema.
I'm going to be very unprofessional here and say I'd much rather do the Mad Max episode because that sounds amazing.
Oh no, they're both happening at some point. I
Okay.
can't remember what way.
Mad Max.
I'm pretty sure it's Mad Max.
For a 20th, that would be great. A Mad Max discussion.
Yeah.
Max Rokotansky. Bullets from the bullet farm.
And on that note, goodbye, Ollie.
Goodbye, Dan and Charlie.
Goodbye, Charles.
Goodbye, Ollie and Dan.
Oof. Right, it's been a pleasure, and I hope you listeners out there enjoy this episode just as much as we have recording it. Thank you, and listen to us next week. Bye.